Good evening, everyone. Welcome to GameFace episode 133 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. We have a special guest with us tonight.
It's me.
This guy, if you didn't know it, this guy, he's normally not here.
That's right. This is clearly the strongest guest because I am holding the mic. Yeah. They can't handle it.
Has nothing to do with our lack of equipment.
Nope. It's just a feat of strength.
Yeah, we wanted to do it this way.
I get a special achievement at the end.
This is Brent Phillips, for those of you who don't know, the architect of both Game Trailers and Sifted. He built both of those websites. You built GT like 4 times.
Yep.
Was it 4 times? Is that how many different versions we had?
I think we were on 6 when we left, and I did 2 through 6.
Okay, yeah.
So a couple times.
The guy knows how to build websites is what I'm saying. But he's also a hardcore gamer, just like the rest of us. And we brought him on. We're going to talk a little bit about E3, kind of from the, I want to say the outsider's perspective, because you've been an insider for quite a while.
But I didn't go to.
You were unable to go. So we're going to talk about E3 a little bit from the perspective of someone who wasn't able to attend, and talk about some great games as well. We do have a good show. I don't know about next week, though. Things are looking real dry over the next couple months, so we're going to have to work real hard to get shows together. Plus, Matt, you're going to be out at least next week.
Yeah.
And then possibly the week after.
Yeah, and that is a problem, more of a problem than usual because of the venue.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I would say one thing. I would say you picked a good time to go.
yeah, it's not. My niece picked a good time to be born.
Right.
I guess.
You're right, though. Like the week after E3, you always go for her birthday, and it's always a dead time.
Yeah.
So.
And I thought for all, it's too bad because I'm going to miss like the week The Crew 2 comes out. But
we'll
deal with that.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll deal with that.
Yeah, like I said, we do have a good show. Let's just get right to it.
Sure.
Let's talk about E3. Matt and I have talked about E3 ad nauseum for the last 3 weeks straight.
So let's do it again?
Yeah, hey, it's the biggest event of the year. I'm definitely capable and willing to talk about it as much as possible. Brent, what was your overall perspective on E3 after, now even for us, we have hindsight now because it's been a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. What was your perspective on the show as someone who just kind of watched it from home?
I was surprised by how little new games there were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there were games that we hadn't seen before, I don't think we'd seen The Division 2 or anything yet, which I was glad to see, but it's not like I couldn't imagine what that would be.
Yeah. It pretty much ended up being exactly what I thought it would be.
The new From Software game, Sekiro?
Sekiro, I don't know.
That looks awesome. I'm jazzed for that. It looks really close to Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
And
granted, Ghost of Tsushima looks a hell of a lot better graphically.
Well, sure, but they both look like fun games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going for very different things. There's Sekiro is more of a action, almost character action style kind of thing, and Ghost of Tsushima is more of an open world, narrative-driven leaf simulator. So
yeah, there are a lot of leaves. Yeah, Sekiro had a lot of Zelda-y kind of things about it.
Mm-hmm. Tenchu-y as well. It's got a grapple hook.
Yeah, well, they said it started kind of as a Tenchu game, and they decided that that and also too many other studios had put their mark on Tenchu over the years, and those marks were mostly bad.
Yeah, they were.
That's fair.
They decided to just kind of go for something new, and I think that's the right call. Tenchu doesn't get you any cachet really today. I love the original game, but you might as well make something where you're not beholden to an arbitrary IP.
Yeah.
Brent, talking about what you mentioned about how there weren't a lot of debuts, Matt and I agree with you. We had problems finding candidates for best debut.
Yeah, for
Division 2
our
was
best
a
E3
awards. We really chose the most obvious selections because there weren't any to really mull over.
Right.
Do you think that maybe that's a factor of the oversaturation of games media? And certainly Sifted would be most guilty of that. Most of the games, like you said, the Division 2. Yeah. If you were a Sifted user, you knew about the Division 2 for quite a while before E3 happened. Do you think there might be a certain point where you're getting diminishing returns from how thorough the industry is covered?
I don't know. Some of that is it being a very obvious sequel as well, because Hitman 2, I guess that was technically E3. It just came out the week before, whatever. Mm-hmm. No one was surprised to see Hitman 2. It was still technically a debut, but when you have a successful game, it's
you're going to make another one.
You're going to have a second one. And I don't know. I didn't feel like the games that we saw didn't look unique and original. It's just that a lot of them were part of existing franchises.
Yeah.
Like even if you discount the leak thing and you're really talking about just games that we saw for the first time officially at there weren't that many.
Yeah.
Like even if okay, like it's tempting to say like Ghost of Tsushima, but we saw a teaser for that a year ago. It's just the first real good look we got at it. If you're talking about games that literally debuted at E3, that's a handful at best.
Literally, like a handful, like 5 or 6 games total.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Even indies. There weren't a lot of like indie debuts even.
No, there was the Life is Strange Superboy thing.
Captain Amazing.
Adventures
Or,
Captain.
And then it turned out Life is Strange 2
Captain
comes out in
Heartstrings.
September
Yeah.
today. Like,
Yeah.
what happened to Don't Nod?
Don't Nod's on fire. Like,
Or they're on drugs.
they're putting out 3 games in 4 months. It's
They're
crazy.
doing meth over there.
Welcome to work. Here's your Coke. And
Don't nod, don't sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, how was it to not go to E3? Because you've gone a lot of years. Did you have like FOMO, or you?
I mean, I guess I haven't
freaking out
gone for the
about it?
past couple of years. I really like E3. I really like the press conferences. I always have. Well, now that I'm not responsible for any
Doing
servers
anything.
streaming those conferences, I like them a lot.
Isn't it funny how back at GT, the hoops that we had to jump through to live stream the stuff? First of all, we were only one of like 2 or 3 outlets that did it.
Yeah.
But think about what we had to do to stream that stuff live, and now how easy it is.
It just happens.
It's really insane. I mean, we used to have we would hire an outside company for what, like 40 grand, I think it was, for them to help us with the live streams. Because we had like a satellite truck outside the first year.
It was pretty serious business.
Yeah,
man.
just to live stream the press conferences. Now,
yeah, it was
we streamed it from Matt's couch. Like, it's changed so
When
much.
we did them at G4, it was $3-4 million.
Yeah.
To budget to do that. Like never mind the live E3 show conference.
Well, no matter what,
and they
you
were
guys-
2
We didn't
separate
spend that,
productions.
but-
Right, you guys always you had to have trucks.
Yes.
Because
right,
you had to
of
send
course.
that broadcast signal out to
Yeah.
a satellite and then beam it back down.
Yeah.
Because we were the official broadcasting partner.
That's right. And you had the big production trucks
Yeah.
outside of E3. I did that a couple times before I left,
They
but
were the only. It was basically you or me.
Yeah.
It was like there was no one else broadcasting.
yeah, you're right.
I guess Vic Lucas could have if he got the right contract, but
Yeah.
that's Canada and it doesn't count.
But anyway, how did it feel to watch it from home? Are you cool with doing that now? Do you feel any
it's-
regrets when you don't go to the actual show floor?
No, it's great. Like my wife knows this is what I do during this time is watch those press conferences. So I sit upstairs and put it on the 4K TV and it looks amazing. And
Were the streams in 4K?
all the big ones were.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the very
Microsoft
least,
was.
they
That's
were
crazy.
good. At the very least, they were good enough that when the TV upscaled it, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, Microsoft's was on Mixer, but I didn't set it to 4K when we were watching it because I didn't want to. I wanted to spare the bandwidth.
You don't want it
Yeah.
to skip or stop.
Right.
Or buffer.
Because we were watching it, but we were also streaming it on a separate computer from YouTube.
Right.
To put it in the TriCast, and we were uploading the TriCast stream, trying to make the network do a 4K stream at the same time.
You wouldn't have been
Like-
able
Yeah,
to
you
tell
made the right
anyway.
call.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's the way to do it, man. And I thought, outside of Sony being kind of weird, at least they had a lot of good games.
Well, they had 4 good games. Well, 3 good games.
Well, that's also where we saw Resident Evil 2. And,
Yeah.
There was some good stuff in there, beyond just the 4.
Well, I was going to say that I think all the conferences had something redeeming about them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
none of them were awful.
Even
Unless
Square
you count
Enix.
Well, Square and Nintendo both are kind of like, well, I can watch. It's just a collection of trailers, so I can watch the trailers whenever. I don't count those as much.
Here's the abandoned PSVR
Yeah, here's the empty
section.
PlayStation VR booths
Yeah,
at the
a year ago,
show.
that was just packed. Like, it
Mob,
was just mobs
yeah.
of people.
It's changed a lot. Are you still playing VR, Brent?
No, I mean I've got the original dev kit of the Oculus Rift,
Yeah.
which displays in like 480 by 360
Right,
or something. So
yeah. Oh my
as soon
gosh.
as you put it on, you just vomit
Barf.
everywhere.
Yeah, you puke all over
don't-
yourself.
I don't think it works with the modern software and stuff. I
Yeah.
don't think they support it anymore.
So you never ended up getting the final retail unit then?
No.
So you backed it, but then never got the final unit.
No, I didn't back it. I actually bought one.
Oh, you just bought
after it came out. I had some idea to make a game. That happens every couple of years or something. I didn't
made
make
a couple,
it.
though.
Surprise.
You
Yes,
made a
I
mobile
had,
game.
But
Like a card battle game, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I made it. It never came out
Yeah.
for reasons I won't go into, but I played it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's pretty fun.
Well,
Really,
look,
really
if you're
Hearthstone.
making a game and you play it and you don't like it, that's a big problem.
I loved it. We were like 80% through, and then Hearthstone came out, and we were like, oh, shit. You sons of bitches.
That's the way it goes. What other impressions did you have from the show? Anything that really stood out for you? Or
I loved the Ubisoft Just Dance intro thing. And my favorite part of it by far was like, so by the time they get, they do the full intro outside and then they go into the real theater. And so they're all like dancing around, doing their things. And then it like cuts to the crowd and they're all just
sitting there, stone-faced, yeah.
Like cheer up, you sad bastards. Like, what's not
You
to like
sad
about
sacks.
this? Just if you don't want to play Just Dance, that's fine. Enjoy the music. But like, come on.
They're jaded.
I thought
They've
that
also
was,
been
I thought that
standing
was
in the
pretty funny.
sun for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
waiting to get
Ubisoft,
in.
you wait outside in the line in the heat for a while before you get in, and then you come in and you get freeze-dried by the air conditioning, and
I mean, I got to admit, like, because I didn't get to go to the press conferences for years because I was in the master control booth, like, doing editorial directing for
G4.
the G4 Live stuff. So after G4 collapsed, like a flan in the cupboard, I was 2013. I'm like, oh, I can go to the press conference. That was because the press conference was always my favorite, going all the way back to like 2000, 2001. Because that's where all the real news happened, and nobody knew. For a long time, nobody knew. Like, it was like, oh, like, the real stuff, like, we should show those on TV, and all the executives were like, no, I don't know. But,
meanwhile, they became the best-rated thing that ever happened on G4.
but,
Is there an advantage to going to it?
well, no, that's what
just
it,
watching
there
a
isn't.
4K
that's exactly,
stream at
because
home?
I hadn't been, so the last press conference I'd probably been to was, like, the Microsoft and Sony ones in 2007, when it was in, Santa Monica and all that.
Yeah.
And, like, and because we were doing production on site for that, and then like I ended up in the booth for like 5 years, and then I'm like, I can go. So I got my invites to all the press conferences, and I went. It was like it was like Monday. It was like the main day. It was like Microsoft at like 9 in the morning, and then Ubisoft and EA and
they used
Sony.
to do like
It was
4 in a
all
day.
the whole day. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like, and then like the year after was I just stayed home and watched them on the streams, and I'm like, this is way better. Like I don't have to like.
I didn't know if
hustle
it was
around.
like
Waiting endless
Oh,
lines.
you really got to see him live.
No,
man. That's
not at
the
all.
best.
I mean, the only reason I went at GT was because we would be set up with executive interviews afterwards.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go up on stage and wait for someone to come out. A lot of times it ended up being Scott Rohde, who's like the head of Sony's first-party studios. So we'd have to like hang around and wait to do an interview with some executive or whatever. But otherwise, I wouldn't have gone either.
Yeah, if
so,
you got business to do there, like work
Yeah.
you have to do there, sure. But like, if you're just like, oh, it'll be out now, it's better. Trust me, it's better. It's like a football game. It's like you get a better view.
You're gonna see a
at
lot
home,
more.
for
Unless
sure.
you just really like shitty beer and hot
You like
dogs.
shitty expensive beer and freezing to death on the 50-yard line. Yeah, but like that's E3 press conferences. Like, you're not freezing, you're burning. But especially. This year I think especially because it was unseasonably warm and not overcast. Usually E3 week is like June gloom and like overcast and sort of like coldish. But
It was hot.
It was warm this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, hustling around. The first day on the show floor was really hot. Like I was sweating all day, literally all day, hauling around gear and everything. I was like, I was miserable. Like the air conditioning in the convention center just couldn't keep up for whatever reason. I thought it was terrible. It's the hottest I've ever felt it in there. So Brent, what is your game of the show?
I mean, I don't think this is like a particularly hot take, but Cyberpunk was the most exciting for me, especially because like, I watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes and I was like, what is this game? This is awesome. Like, I loved how colorful it was versus like.
I was shocked by that.
It's not the grimdark. Like, I really like Deus Ex. Like, I always have. But like, it's just really like, hey, I'm the dude. I'm really gravelly and everything's dark and all this stuff. And then like Cyberpunk's like,
It had a color
check
palette.
this shit out, man.
Yeah.
I really dug that.
That's funny. You remind me of like where I remember playing Mankind Divided and thinking like that Adam's like voice doesn't fit the world anymore. Like he sounds so much like a late 90s, early 2000s like gruff hero, and you're like, but everything else is like really detailed and carefully designed.
Yeah, I wish they just
and
dialed
it's
it
like,
back just a little bit.
Everyone's having like a very very serious like a thematic conversation about like free will, and then Adam Jenkins comes in. It's like I'm a badass and my sunglasses go into my head. You're like, okay, dude, like whatever.
Yeah, a little bit off tone, I think.
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk, your game of the show. What was your runner-up?
Runner-up. I mean, I'm a huge From Software fan, so seeing Sekiro was really cool. Like,
Are you okay with all the changes that are coming to that as far as like there's
Yeah,
a
it's
jump
funny.
button and like
Well, I don't care about the jump button. I mean, jumping in the Dark Souls games has always been really weird. I mean, you could still jump. You just have to like double tap the run button. It was weird. Anyway, like I've never thought that leveling up with souls was particularly interesting. I like the mechanic of having to go get your souls and having that have, provided a lot of tension about like whether or not your death mattered. And it sounds
Both
like they're
good
going to
and
try
bad.
to provide that tension still, but just eschew all the RPG stuff because I think a lot of players would level up past the difficulty curve and then just steamroll everything, and I think they're missing out on a fantastic combat system and stuff like that really rewards you if you learn it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like in this one, like, the game's the game, man. You better learn how to play or it's not going to work. I mean, all that kind of depends on how they tune it at the end, but and maybe they'll err on the side of being a little bit easier since you don't have the option of out leveling it. But
I think they're going to go the other way because now that they know exactly what tools you have to work with at all times,
You think it'll be harder?
They can tune it harder because they know you have the ability. It's not like Dark Souls where like, well, we can't make this too hard here because if someone put all their points into like intelligence, then they won't be able to magic their way through this. They'll hit. You have to be able to accommodate a bunch of different play styles. But with this, like we know exactly what you can do. We know exactly what you should have learned by now, and we're going to throw this monstrous boss at you that like is going to make you either learn it or die. And I feel like it might be harder.
That's
I feel like
possible.
there might be like a Ninja Gaiden thing going on here, where it's like once they know all the abilities you have at all times, they can really hone in on what these things can do to you. Which I'm into that. Like I think that's a cool idea.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board. I ended up playing Dark Souls 3 like 9 times,
Wow. You finished it 9 times?
if not more, and then like did
Wow.
all kinds of other playthroughs where it was like, all right, no
Holy
leveling, and then I'll do one with this kind of weapon, and like it was just.
You really love their
I
games.
really love that game, and so I'm down for whatever they put out. So that's a very personal pick. I don't know how that, like, if you weren't a Dark Souls fan, I don't know that would stand out, especially against. I think Ghost of Tsushima had a much cooler trailer and get the gameplay and stuff. But
Did you like Neo?
Neo's really hard.
You think it's hard in relation to like the
It's
Souls
hard.
games?
It's hard. It is
is hard, you're right.
There's so much like technical stuff. It's and like you have your stances, and then you do your weird like key blast thing all the time, and then it's like 100 hours long, and just I don't know. It's not the sort of thing where, not to toot my own horn, but I think 5 or 6 years ago I was a pretty smart guy.
Now, not so much.
No. After you have kids and like you haven't slept in so long, like I don't have the attention span for that anymore. And so like, if I can just play the game, then great. But like, if you have me do all this like fiddly stuff, and I wasn't used to it, so had I never played Dark Souls, I might have been okay with Neo. But being used to all the stuff of Dark Souls and then moving to Neo, where everything's like almost different for the sake of being different, just so they're not a Dark Souls game. I don't know. I bounced off it. I mean, I gave it a good 15 hours or so.
Okay, wow.
I beat several bosses that I was just like, I don't want to do this for 100 hours.
I got further than that, and I would agree that it's harder than the Dark Souls games. Like in part because it's different, and you're trying to get your mind around those. But there's a lot more complexity in terms of the systems they expect you to use constantly.
Team Ninja.
And I was trying to like kind of I'd be like, okay, well I don't have to worry about the key blast stuff. And no, it's like that's a thing
No,
you
really
use
gotta
all
do
the
that.
time.
Yeah.
Like that's not like a boss technique. That's a thing you got to use to get through stuff. And like there was a point in that game where I just like several bosses in, and like the notion of trudging through another section to fight another boss like that was just like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to go back and play Dark Souls again and have fun. It became a slog at some point, I think, in a way that I didn't find rewarding.
Well, I mean, Dark Souls has the same kind of thing at the beginning. If you've never played it, like, you just get beat down, and like I get bouncing off Dark Souls when you first arrive at it, and I think that's what happened to us with Neo. I'm sure there is some inflection point where you're switching your stances and you're doing your key blasts, and you really got your stuff going, and you're like, man, I feel like a samurai. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I never hit that.
Yeah, he didn't make
And I played it. I played it long enough that I feel like I should have hit that.
15 hours, yeah.
And I'm not like bad at games. I
Yeah.
just I don't know.
Any game that takes that long, even if 15 hours it clicked for you, that's bad.
Yeah.
Any game that takes 15 hours before it clicks with the player, that's poor design. That's all there is to it. So it's not you, it's
I know
them.
it took me 3 games to click with Dark Souls.
Really?
I didn't get it until about halfway through Dark Souls 2.
Wow.
And then
It still hasn't clicked for me.
And then I went back and played Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, and like it was like another world.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like a different reality. It was like, where was all this when I played this before? It's like at some point it's like a magic eye thing. Like suddenly you can
Yeah.
see the
All of a sudden you see
sailboat.
it and you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
the most telegraphed thing in the world, and
Right.
like you never saw it before.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's how the stances thing is
Yeah.
when you see the other guys change stances, they're like, oh, he's in high, I need to be in low, or whatever. Whatever rock, paper, scissors thing they have for that guy, and just, I couldn't see it.
Anything from E3 that you were disappointed by?
I was surprised how meh I was about Fallout 76.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not, but like, I was prepared to enjoy it anyway. You know,
So when you first heard about it, you were willing to give it a chance.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? If they do something a little different here, and maybe it's just because we didn't get enough information. I feel like we still don't really know what this
never
it
game
wasn't
played.
playable.
Yeah.
They didn't
And
let
then
anyone
like
play it.
there's these errant sentences that have been said, and I'm like, what in the world? Like where they say like there aren't any real NPCs, they're all players. And I'm like, how are you supposed to deliver a story with this? And I guess the answer is you're not.
Well, they're trying to say that there is, in fact, a story to play through
Well,
as
they
well.
were very vague about like
Yeah.
like even Todd was up there being like, "We're scared too," and I'm just like, "Well,
Don't tell me
don't
that.
say that to me." Like,
Yeah, that's not very encouraging.
I was super ready to be kind of
Sell,
brought
sell,
over
sell,
and
but
convinced, but like they didn't, they said like, "We're afraid to, and we think it's all going to work out. We're very committed to single player stuff, but everything's always online, and now." Bye. Like it's just like I and also my head doesn't fit in the power armor, so like, I got no incentive here.
Why bother?
What's the level of trust that you have, though, with someone like Todd Howard and Bethesda, where you say, okay, this sounds not ideal to me, but because of the pedigree or the person behind the project, you're willing to maybe give it more of a chance than maybe another game?
If this were Fallout 5, then I'd say yes. This is definitely, it feels like a filler game.
Okay,
Where
so
it's like
the
we've got the
title
Fallout
actually-
4, they've got the Fallout 4 engine. They're working on whatever the next engine is, and this is like, well, we could do this pretty quickly with all these assets, and this building system never really came into its own in Fallout 4. So I imagine they're going to lean on that heavily. And maybe whatever the next couple games they have, like building systems didn't make any sense, and they really want to do something with it. And they're like, well, this is 8 months to a year's worth of development for a full game that will easily pay for itself because they don't have any of these other things. It makes a lot of sense from them. And I trust that they'll do the best they can with it. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of those like, I'll definitely wait and see. I'm not writing it off completely, but
Yeah, I want to see one more big demo or something to kind of really get my head around.
Or a one real
Anything,
demo,
yeah.
like,
What-
where we actually
also,
see
like-
the game live.
Yeah.
Like,
What's with Bethesda's obsession with building stuff?
I don't know.
Like that was in the Skyrim. Was that Hearth something?
Yeah, I mean, it was in Fallout 4 was a big part of it.
Yeah, but Fallout 4 was, but like it started in that Skyrim expansion, and
Yeah.
I was like, why do I care about
asked for this?
doing that? Like,
I
why-
didn't really even enjoy it all that much in Fallout 4 either.
No,
Well, it
Like,
just
I basically
didn't do
got
it.
my home set up so that it could defend itself, and I
right.
just didn't even pay
That's
attention
what I did
anymore.
too. But
I
like,
didn't
I mean,
even
my
do
brother-in-law
that. Really?
built. My brother-in-law
No, I
built a
just
fortress.
left.
Really? You didn't do anything with it?
no, it's like, who cares about you guys? I'm out of here.
It doesn't
I
really
got my
get you.
back.
anything.
Yeah, I
just
never even,
started-
you're right. In hindsight, it really didn't mean anything. But while I was playing the game, for whatever reason, I was under the false assumption that it actually mattered. So I did, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to build this. And once I know it can defend itself, I have enough people and enough turrets, I left it alone. But it's interesting that you were just like right away, like, no, I'm out of here. Like,
I mean, that Minutemen faction is like the one faction that will basically never turn on you and never
Right.
disappear. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to lose that aspect of the game.
yeah.
If you kill, what's his face? Preston Garvey?
Preston, yeah. And I was
think they turn
tempted.
on you. I saved and then killed him just
I
to
noticed,
see if that he would stop calling me. And
I played.
did stop.
I played again. I
Wasn't
played
worth
again.
it.
Ghost started
Wasn't worth
calling
it,
you.
but
It was super cheap on Xbox One last month, so I bought it and I kind of played through it again. And I didn't like it the first time. I liked it better this time, but I still didn't think it was that great. But they changed that character because he was not bothering me all the time anymore. They
patched him
They
in.
made him less annoying somehow. Like he doesn't.
That's good.
He doesn't give you new missions unless you go talk to him or something.
That makes sense.
So it was not as because for a while there, I remember it's like you constantly get the raid. It's like, oh, you should go over here. Oh, you should go over here. You should go over. I'm like all my quests are just like go check this settlement out. I'm just like I'm trying to kill super mutants, dude. Like it's not the time.
And I mean, I very much play the Fallout games, I've played since the first one, and I really enjoy just being like, you know what? I'm just going to be a melee only. I'm going to bat these guys into oblivion. And like, I'm worried that something like that, like a Bananas playthrough where you're super dumb or super smart and try to talk your way out of everything. How are you going to do that in 76? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then like they show that gameplay video of the guy going to like the trailer home and the guy shoots a rocket at him. Like, you know how pissed I would be if some rando shot a rocket at me while I'm exploring around?
No, you're right. All good points. Anything else that drew your ire from the show before we move on?
Hold on, let me get my...
How did you feel about Nintendo showing?
Well,
You're a big Smash guy.
I've always been a huge Smash Bros. Fan, except that, like, I don't work in a gaming office anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and my kids aren't old enough to play, so
Right.
it's like, I don't
So
know.
you've fallen off.
Yeah.
Also, that would just be mean.
Also, by the way, it did finally come out that Smash is basically just a port of the
Yeah,
Wii
they're
U
using
game.
old
It really looks
assets.
like
Of course
that,
it was.
yeah.
Well, during the show,
They said it wasn't, but like
now it's
Look at
come
it.
out that it is in fact just old assets with
Well,
so.
that's kind of what everyone wants.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't see that as a mark against them. It's like they made a perfect game with Melee, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So just kind of update that with graphics, and I think all your Melee fans will be happy. And like, go make another new IP instead of screwing with this.
At the very least,
That's not
it's
going
like-
to happen.
At the
No.
very least, at least you don't have anybody whining that they got left behind. Like my favorite character isn't in this. Like,
Yeah,
that was
now they're all there.
that was
All-
always
all
kind of
the
the thing
demos.
moving forward from Melee. It was like, well, are they going to bring in the guy I like to play? It's like, well, if you like Link, sure, But I mean, it's probably a smart move to bring everybody in. I think there's just some people that are more interested in what could be new, and there's not a lot of that until you get into the DLC. It looks like.
At least the GameCube controller works with it.
It does.
That's a big deal.
That's the worst.
Don't you have to
controller.
buy it for that?
Yeah.
Like, because you have to be able to plug it into the Switch, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that some connector?
I think it's a connector though, isn't it?
I thought you had to buy the whole new.
Oh,
controller.
really? Oh, geez.
Maybe there is
Get
a
my
connector.
Wavebird.
But then again, like if you know anything about these, Nintendo stuff, like that connector is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be hard
Second,
to get.
Yep,
Yep,
That's true.
absolutely.
just like that damn Pokeball controller.
Yeah.
And everything else they ever put out that's hardware related the first day.
The other thing I'd say I was surprised about is Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like the trailer, I thought was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's all cinematics; it has nothing to do with the game itself. But I was totally into that trailer. And then the more they talk about it, the more I just don't believe it.
You think
Like,
it's not going to be what they say it is?
It sounds like too big a game built on a franchise that like had one game that didn't really make that much money. Like, where is this funding coming from? And it feels like a game that they've already restarted 2 or 3 times.
It's true.
I think
And
Ansel just gets whatever the hell he wants
Yeah.
sometimes. Like it's just
he believes
I'm-
he has a blank check.
But
in
I'm just,
Ubisoft.
well, nobody has that blanket check, man. I feel like this game is going to get pushed out before it's ready because they've made too big a promise. And
They did have playable demos of it at the show
Yeah.
that they showed
Well,
us.
they said they're going to do a beta at the end of next year. So we got a couple more E3s to go with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean, at least they're upfront about that. Like, if they'd said a beta in Q1, I'd be like, right.
No,
Yeah.
Well, even the playable part they showed was like, okay, you're floating around a city.
Yeah, it
That's
wasn't
it.
much.
Like, there's
Right.
no gameplay. It's just like, hey, we have a thing that works.
We have
We don't have a
an
game in it,
engine
but we
and
have-
the
yeah.
world.
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
But like, if they're talking about like traversing like solar systems and with all these different planets and worlds. And it's like awesome, but like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but that's
like,
that's nothing like Beyond Good and Evil. Like, that's what
Yeah,
I never
okay.
got. Like,
It's
I really
not-
liked going around and like sneaking around and taking pictures of exciting
I've said
stuff,
that
and
to
it's
Matt
like,
on the show a couple
what is this
times.
game?
That like the game was like a photography sim. That was the part
It
that
was
really
sweet.
stuck with me years
Yeah.
after I played it.
Because that's something that not other games
Right.
didn't really
When have
do.
you ever played as like a photojournalist in a AAA game, a big budget game?
It's kind of it, man.
Yeah, it doesn't appear
Pokemon
that
Snap?
she's still
Yeah,
a
that's what I was
journalist.
thinking of.
It doesn't appear that she's still a journalist based upon that
Well, I'm wondering-
trailer.
well,
But
I'm
it's like
wondering
a
if it's
it's a prequel.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's how.
That's her mom. or
it
she's
shows
a
how she
clone or
became
some
a
crap.
journalist, I guess.
I don't know.
I
Like,
don't know.
well, everyone's assuming it's like what happened to Jade was like, well, it could be a story of like how Paige found her again because
true.
he knows who she is,
Right.
but that doesn't mean it doesn't take place before the first game. It's
true.
But then why do you call it Beyond Good and Evil?
But that would
2?
mean
Right.
that Jade in the first one is like had her memory wiped or something. They never made any reference to
Well, would
like
you
her
talk
being
about-
a space pirate.
Would you talk about your space pirate days if you ran an orphanage?
Probably.
Maybe to
Well,
put
you
them
know
to
what-
sleep.
you know
That's
what's
a great
sweet,
bedtime story.
If you don't go to sleep, I swear I'll call my space pirate buddies, and you're done.
And they're shipped the size of the moon.
Yeah.
And we're gonna. I don't know. I'm up for it. Like that game is so old and like felt like so much of a part one of something that like I'm willing to give them the benefit. And we don't know what is in this damn game.
Yeah.
Like, it could be,
I don't know if Michelle Ansel knows what's in this damn game.
I don't know.
True.
Anytime they say open world, I'm like, no, don't do. Just make a good game. Like,
I mean, there was an open world in the first one.
Yeah.
A little bit, like,
Sorta.
About as
driving
open
around
as
that
a
thing.
world
As
as a
open
game
world
was
as you
could
back
do
then.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
I don't
just
know.
what a regular game is now.
I mean, I
Pretty
don't,
much,
I
yeah.
don't care about it being attached to the first game that much. I just want more of this weirdo French comic space opera stuff.
I like the
Yeah.
universe, yeah. And I like Jade. And I like
And
Paige.
yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like I wouldn't even demand it be a Beyond Good and Evil game. Really, I just want to give me that game in general. But it's nice to see Paige again.
What's the XCOM looking game that's got weird anthropomorphic?
Oh,
people?
that's
Oh.
that one that you
gosh.
picked for that thing.
What the heck is the name of it now?
Well, anyway, like if that had been Beyond Good and Evil 2, I'd have been like, great.
Yeah,
One of
cool.
those Paige,
Close enough.
let's go. That's fine.
It does kind of look like a BG&E
Yeah,
game.
you get me a cantankerous pig character,
Oh,
and I'm kind of like
Mutant
we're
Year
there.
Zero is the name of that game.
What is it?
Mutant Year
Year Zero.
Mutineer.
Yeah, that was actually my strategy game of the show, so I should have remembered the name of it.
There's a memorable
Not
title.
a lot
for it.
of competition, though.
There was not. No, there was like 3 strategy games at E3.
What, Command and Conquer Mobile didn't do it?
We
for
didn't
us?
really count that one, actually.
That was the most tone-deaf shit I've ever seen.
I didn't even remember that when I was.
According
trying
to
pick one.
social media, it was the most negatively received piece of news at all of E3.
I believe it. It's
not
not,
the same
that I have any
audience.
problem with them doing that. It's that they showed a whole match.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh my
I get
gosh,
it.
I don't
Well, also
care.
I know how that works.
Like
yeah.
you show me 30 seconds of this game, I completely understand every bit of it, and then you just keep showing it.
Well, it's also like you had PR folks on Twitter be like, "This is the most money-making thing, and you have to show this." It's like I get that, but
That's
like,
not who's watching
That's not
this.
the,
You can
that's
just
not
show
the
trailer.
audience for this.
Literally, they could just they put out a trailer and the gameplay stuff. They could have just shown the trailer. That's all they
Yeah.
needed to do.
Yeah.
Instead, they dedicated the most time in the press conference.
Was it really the most?
Yes, if you look
was
at
almost
the
10
actual
minutes.
real estate of how much they gave to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like
And
you don't
mobile
see,
is EA's like bread and butter right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I mean, that's the crazy part
it's really
about
making
it.
all their money. I'm
I
sure.
ran into a guy from EA who worked in their mobile department, I think at PAX Party, and I was like, well, wow, how many raises have you got in the last 5 years? He's like, we're doing real good. I mean, it's pulling the cart right now at EA, mobile is. So I can understand maybe giving a little bit of time to something like that, but I mean, obviously we're not alone in saying that it was a misuse of very valuable screen time at a press conference.
Although, I
like
mean, we were talking last week about how Anthem felt a little forgotten.
Yeah.
But then IGN put up their traffic rankings, and Anthem was _1
Yeah.
by a large. So people
Oh,
are
that
people are
was going to
finding
be
it.
my other thing that I was kind of mad about.
that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're alone on that one either, honestly.
I mean, I thought this is the time they already kind of showed like it's kind of Destiny-ish. Like they already showed what the gameplay is going to be. Is you and your buddies going and doing objectives, and it's like now's the time to show us why this world is cool. Why do I care about this? And they just didn't at all.
It was just kind of repetitive from what they showed before. They didn't
thought
show a lot that was
in,
new.
They had these weird little lore things, like there used to be gods and they left, and
Yeah.
there's these batteries around, and I'm like, well,
How
that
come
doesn't mean
there always
anything.
used to be gods, and they left. So that's very Destiny as well. Like
The Forerunners.
the Forerunners
Yeah.
and the
Never
and
had
the,
that idea
and the
before.
Traveler and the demons and the darkness and the light and the
It-
guardians. It's like everything's a direct article and something like a definite article and something else. It's just like I don't know. And like I think actually Yahtzee in Zero Punctuation this week made a pretty good like he kind of summed it all up where he's like, oh, Anthem, I can't wait to hold down the trigger and watch numbers come out of something until they stop. Like that's all. It's literally all that is.
That's
Like,
really
it's-
what it is.
You know, I'm
yeah.
like I'm wowed by the Iron Man armor too, but like it really looks like something we've done already.
Yeah.
I mean, in Destiny's defense,
BioWare
like,
used to be the ones driving that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and they've turned into followers.
Well,
Yeah.
it looks like Anthem still strikes me as a survival tactic.
Yeah.
Like it's like you can't survive in modern EA by making these single player RPGs BioWare style, so they had to make something that could be a game as a service kind of thing to justify their existence.
Did Destiny make a lot more money than I thought it did? Like, why
It's
are
done
they
pretty
did
coming
very
well.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in its defense, it actually had some pretty neat story elements when you got into the stupid grimoire cards and stuff, and
Yeah.
like got deeper. And then like the Taken King was good, and like
Destiny
2
2
has its issues, but
Destiny
like
2's campaign was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it got a
It-
lot better with 2, and
Campaign at least felt like it was made by the people who made Halo.
Absolutely.
Once upon a
and they
time.
and they messed around with stuff like the Traveler isn't this just like supernatural force of good, and like kind of one of the sort of bad guys actually saved humanity and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I like that this isn't black and white, but you kind of had to dig for that shit.
You did. Yeah. And I'm not a big lore digger. Like, I'm not one of those guys that reads all the scrolls or like discovers a piece of paper on the table and reads the whole thing. I'm the guy who hits X to make sure I get it and then hits circle as quickly as possible so it goes away.
Well, luckily, you just got to be the guy that waits for the real guy to do it on Reddit
right,
and just post it all for you. And you're like, oh, sweet. That's
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah. Any other things you want to bring up before we move on?
I don't think so, man.
Yeah. Did you enjoy E3 overall?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I said at the beginning, is I feel like each of the conferences had a lot of redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
Like, there were definitely some off moments, but none of them, I didn't turn off any of them. I watched them all.
Yeah.
And I've definitely turned them off before. Although, stop showing me Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. If I wasn't on stream, I think I would have probably gone and done something else during the Square one.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, not only are you showing me what I've seen before, but it's like, I'm super not the market for this.
Yeah. I don't know. Kingdom Hearts kind of changed my mind after I played it.
I heard you say that on the thing, and I'm like, well...
See, I'm very interested in that because like everyone I know who played it who is a Kingdom Hearts fan is like, this is the same damn game as 2, basically. Like there's no progression, and even the things they didn't like about it are still things they don't like. So it's going to be interesting to see how people who like never played the game receive it, and how the fans receive it in terms of beyond like just finishing the story.
The fans are most important, by the way.
Yeah.
They need to please the fans.
Absolutely, like, because you've been.
I'm just a smattering of people who may give it a chance after with the third one or whatever.
Like,
that's a
Frozen.
very small.
We'll get that because it's
sliver.
Frozen. It's like, there'll be a lot of that.
Sort of, and then you just wake up in this nightmare of Square Enix JRPG story of like everyone wearing weird leather overcoats, and you're like,
there is definitely
who's that guy? And
an element of that.
You're still alive? I'm like, who is that?
I didn't know he was dead.
I thought I just saw that guy.
Oh, and there's apparently a big thing where like I haven't gone all the way through Dream Drop Distance and stuff, but apparently there's a big thing where the big bad guy is Xenohort, who's now back because even though he was killed before, now he's back again and he can possess these guys. And if you have like amber eyes, it means you've been taken over by him. It's called getting horted or something, and like or Norted or Zen. I can't keep that guy's name straight. Zehenort, I think his name is now. Yeah, Zehenort.
You're asking.
And like I don't.
He's asking
and I played this shit.
Both of us are the wrong people to ask.
And so there was like the very intense discussion of like, oh, is that character was this and that? And I'm just like, I don't know. I saw they were dead. It's like, no, they're back and they're possessed by the bad guy who was dead but is now not dead, and this person is back because they're not really that person. They're actually Sora. Because
you're starting to send me back to the place where I didn't care about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying here is it ain't gonna sell you.
Yeah.
I promise.
See, that's the thing. Like, I look at it and I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to do like a fun romp through all these like Pixar and Disney things, and then like. But it's
if
just
it is in fact a fun romp.
That's the thing. It's like bookended with just the most obtuse.
Well, you're going to spend like 5% of your time in those worlds. Like most of it's going to be running through these like weird otherworldly places with people talking about how friendship is the most important thing, and Kingdom Hearts, and like they're enunciating every character saying putting a different stress on a different syllable of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And like
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts? Yeah, like, I don't know.
This is how you sell a game.
And then Goofy's like, we'll get through with the power of friendship, Sora. And it's just like, okay, awesome.
That's pretty good, man.
That is pretty good. All right, let's move on. So that's it. That's our final bow on E3 2018. I think it was important to kind of get somebody who wasn't neck deep in the whole show to come in here and discuss it with Matt and I. I think it definitely provided a new perspective. So now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about The Crew 2. The Crew 2 right now is in open beta for everybody. It's for every platform. I actually had problems downloading the PS4 version and ended up playing the Xbox One version of the game. All three of us, though, have downloaded and we've played it. What do you guys think? Do any of you guys like it?
I've got a good soundbite for this.
Okay.
The Crew 2, more like the Poo 2.
Ooh.
Did you say that was a good soundbite or just a soundbite?
The soundbite.
Okay, the soundbite. The definitive soundbite.
That's not really. It's not that bad. I just wanted to say that.
I don't know. It might be that bad.
It is that bad in comparison with Forza Horizon
Yes.
3, which much less 4, which is probably better than that. It's just everything about everything other than actual racing is trash. And then the racing, like I actually like the car racing, other than like there's all weird stuff like we were talking before about like as soon as you hit a checkpoint is when you get the next checkpoint. So you never know which way you're gonna like. And sometimes you get a checkpoint at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Or
right.
at a
to
fork in the
turn.
road, and then it's like it was to the left, and like, well, fuck.
Before we get into the granular part, can we all just agree that
sorry.
that there should never be another game in the history of video games where your progress is measured in how many people follow you on social media? Who came up with that idea? They should be shot.
What the kids are into.
No, they should.
That's the thing. It just reeks.
They
of
should
like,
lose all their
hey,
followers on real social media.
Yeah, like hell.
I think they'd
hey,
prefer to be
fellow
shot.
kids, wouldn't you like some followers on Instagram?
They probably would prefer to be shot in real life instead. Because for a lot of people, if they lost all their followers, their life is over anyway.
Can you imagine how many followers you get if you got shot live?
Probably do okay.
Yeah. I mean, you get like 5,000 followers for doing a frickin' barrel roll in this game. Like getting shot would be like massive.
Yeah, so this is another game where your progress is measured by how many followers you have on Insta or on Snap.
They don't even say.
Yeah, they don't.
It's just followers.
It's just followers.
There's they just like they post it to all social media. It's
your
like, okay,
social media footprint.
Like that's actually your motivation in the whole game. Is like you are part of a racing crew that has not been able to get
just want to be
noticed.
cool.
And like
you just want to be loved by other people.
You join like this racing event called Live, whatever, and they're like, yeah, join up with us and do well, and everybody in the world knows racing and runs racing stuff is like watching, and this is where you make your name. And I was like, cool. In what may be the worst voiced cutscene I have seen in years.
Oh, those cutscenes are
terrible.
Just the worst.
They're terrible.
Yeah. I mean, the animation is like PS2 level for the humans.
It really is.
Yeah, I think it looks like San Andreas.
But the actual voice acting is bad, and it's like
awful.
That's so out of character for Ubisoft.
And
like,
it doesn't even match the models.
No, it doesn't match the voice.
It's like, whose job was this?
It's like ESL, the video game.
Yeah, but like the guy who's like doing the guy at the first scene, like your manager guy meets the guy who's running the festival. Or whatever it
is.
is.
Super
reality
unclear
show
who that guy is at the time.
But
that guy, like I was sitting there listening, I'm like, I don't believe a single one of your line reads. Like it was so weird. It felt like he was reading it for the first time, or so. None of it felt like he was convinced of what he was saying. Which I don't blame him.
What is the whole premise of the game, though? Like it's like there's this live thing, but what is it? Where is it broadcast?
I don't know. Well, they keep talking about like it's like the first episode of Live. Whatever.
What
and
is
like
it?
Live Extreme or something. It's so. It's very like bro, like cool bro. It's like it's as broy as Forza Horizon 1 was.
It is.
Really.
Yeah.
It's like, but at least Forza Horizon 1 kind of had this premise of like this centrally located festival that like, and like your followers in that are kind of more like centralized to like the people that know about you at the festival, and you're becoming more famous at the festival. And this is like. I don't know. You're performing in a world in which all Americans only care about who can do the best stunts in a boat. I don't know what's happening in this game.
By the way, I gave this game best driving game of E3 2018, and I would like to formally rescind my award to the Crew 2. This game
and give it to who? Who else was
Forza.
there?
Forza Horizon 4.
Okay.
That was my pick.
The problem is I've played this game at a bunch of different trade shows and events. But when I never played the whole game. It was always like, win this race. And they would just throw you into a race and you'd race around and you'd either win or you'd lose. And they'd be like, now race the boat. And you'd race the boat. Having the whole structure of the game around it to experience made the experience so much worse.
So much worse.
None of it makes sense whatsoever. And it's like you were talking about earlier, like people may not realize the context of it, but when Brent was talking about how it doesn't show you the waypoints, like the boat races, how they work is they'll have like two poles that you need to drive through, and it doesn't show you the next waypoint until you go through the gate.
Well, and the other problem,
so you can't prepare for like where you're going next after you go through the gate.
Well, on top of that, like they have the little like kind of arrow signs to like mark the course on the races. When you're racing on the street races, these signs are yellow. When you're racing on boats, they're blue.
Yeah.
Guess what else is blue? The fucking water. Like I never know which direction they want me to go. It's and like the only way to see it where the racing line is to look at the mini map. And I shouldn't have to look at the mini map to know where I have to go next, because the CPU racers sure don't know where we're going next.
Yeah.
Like they make no mistakes. And if you make a mistake,
it's over.
You're tough bananas,
but
you can't restart the
You can't restart the races. There's There's no way to restart mid-race.
Like, I must have gone through those menus 6 times. I was like, there's no way. There's no way there's not a restart there. Like, how am I... What button could I possibly press that I haven't pressed?
Especially because this game has the same problem the first game had, where there's like weird things where you will just clip a piece of like magic geometry on the side or on like one little thing on the curb, and your 2,500-pound automobile will come to a dead stop in 0.02 seconds, and everyone else just drives past you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
You just lost.
It desperately needs the Forza Rewind feature just to make up for how sloppy some of the geometry and physics are.
Or just a restart. I'd take a restart at this point.
I mean, the races are actually kind of long.
Yeah, there's been a couple where I literally quit the game and started it again because it was faster than going through. It's a losing race. I'm never gonna. To their credit, there is no rubber banding. They don't let you catch up, really.
No, they
so
don't.
If they get too far ahead of you, you're never gonna see them again.
Yeah, they're gone.
That's even more true, of course, with humans, but I only saw one other person the whole time I played it.
So this is a multi-disciplined racing game. So there's street racing.
The map is pretty cool, though.
There are planes. The map is awesome. Like, I ended up messing around with it. My wife and I messed around with it last night.
So what happened to the Golden Gate Bridge? Oh, it's just drawing
I just hadn't zoomed in enough.
I was like, did they put a jump in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge?
Would be awesome. But... yeah, I don't know what happened to this game.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is a Ubisoft game. And not only this, it's coming out like next week.
Next week, it's 8 days.
This is basically their code right now, what we're playing.
Yeah, there's a thing at the beginning. It's like, this is not final. Oh, it's final.
Oh, it is. This is what's going to come on the disc, because those discs have been manufactured like 2 weeks ago, at least.
At least, yeah.
At least. So you have the different disciplines. You have street racing. You have boat racing, you have planes, you have monster truck races and off-roading, you have dirt bikes.
Motocross, yeah.
How much
hovercrafts.
Hovercraft. How much are you willing to forgive the other stuff because it does have all those different ways to play?
I mean, they were all kind of boring, especially when the off-road had the same problem that the boats did, and maybe this gets more exciting later in the game, but like, it was like, go to that checkpoint, and it's like, all right, it's just wide open water. I guess I'll go over there.
Right.
And use my boost as soon as it's up, and then let it recharge, and then use my boost some more, and I won the race. And it's like, why did I do this?
It's not very nuanced, the racing, no matter what you're talking about. Like,
no.
The plane obviously is the most different from everything else.
Yeah.
But I don't like flying planes in video games in general. I just don't. But you were saying that like it's something
I really
that,
like
for whatever
flying
reason
planes.
you're really good at it.
And I didn't like this.
Yeah, but it's just not. It wasn't. Everything in this game feels weirdly sluggish and slippery. There's no snap to the controls. Like nothing feels satisfying. Even when you hit that turn perfectly, like it feels weirdly disconnected. And like I miss all the little things that have been kind of accepted as like standard issue things in these open world racing games now. Where there's no like kudos system that like matters really. Like there's the followers thing, but like you don't really see that when you're racing. You hear the sound. It's like ding, ding, but it's like when you like do little jumps or whatever. But like there's no sort of like combo system like Forza keeps you kind of chaining things together like that. Doesn't seem to be a thing where like if you're driving on the wrong side of the road, you get points for like being risky.
Yeah, I mean Forza would tell you what you were getting points for, and in this I was like, well, I did something cool. Did anyone care?
Yeah, there is one thing I do like about this game. We're being really harsh on it, and for good reason. One thing I do like about it is that I've had some moments in this game that reminded me of San Francisco Rush, where you end up like, you take off of a ramp, you end up on top of a building, and then there's a ramp on top of the building, and you jump that, and you jump over like 5 buildings and then land. Like those moments I liked, but otherwise...
I mean, the street racing stuff is by far the best.
Yeah, I found it to be the most difficult to win of all of them.
Yeah, I think
the boat races I got first like every time. The plane stuff so far has been really easy. Off-roading first every time because the AI follows the road and you can just take the straight line to the checkpoint. I don't know.
Well, it's funny, even in the street racing, like the AI won't take jumps unless they're part of the main race.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff where it's like, well, I just skipped this whole section. No wonder you guys lost. You're idiots.
Yeah. But
I mean, I guess humans won't do that.
And for a game that like they're asking like you want for the gold edition they want $100. There's you can buy parts through microtransactions and stuff. Like
Really?
Yeah.
It's just the best of all worlds, isn't
There's
it?
There's a loot system in the game. After you
I saw that.
after
Yeah.
you finish some events, like loot will drop out of the sky and land in front of your vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I
You
like
pick
the
them
first,
up, and they're actually parts to help you upgrade your car.
I feel like they've lost my sale on this.
Yeah.
This beta. Like I don't really want to buy this now.
Yeah, how big of a mistake was this beta?
Well,
I
if
mean,
the-
look, this is on my fantasy team.
Yeah, it is on your
And
face.
Oops.
I gave it best of driving game of E3, and here I am eating crow saying that this beta was not a good idea at all. Like, I seriously feel like this beta could have cost Ubisoft like hundreds of millions of dollars.
at least a couple mil.
A couple mil. I mean, dude, divide 60 into a million. That's
I know,
not a lot.
I know.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I mean, they could lose
It was a huge
hundreds of
mistake.
Sort of,
thousands
but I mean-
of copies
But
sold
at the same
of this.
time, nothing's so terrible that tons of people on the internet won't love it.
I mean, the other
So-
thing too is Ubi was smart because there is a serious drought a coming. Like
Yeah,
if
this
there was
is-
a
this is
weather
the time to
forecast
release
for
it.
video games right now, the emergency
Yeah,
systems would
that's
be
true.
going off. Like it is looking real dry.
Almost literally the only game in town for a couple of weeks. There.
Yeah, and so it has found a nice window for itself, but I don't think it's done itself any favors.
Even the walking around in first person doesn't feel good.
No, it's janky.
So weird.
It is-
Why does it even exist?
I don't know.
Oh man,
Forza's not gonna make me do that.
and I don't think we went into enough of how bad the cutscenes are.
Oh yeah, they are really
and like
bad.
they are like I
Voice
was,
acting's bad, animation's
knew-
bad,
I-
the camera angles are bad. There's stuff disappearing and reappearing while they're happening. All the discussion is so inane. It is like the most
Yeah.
vapid,
And there was like one
paper-thin conversation.
We saw it when you guys were here. It was like some guy. I guess because they introduced when you finished the qualifying race or whatever. Like this is the big tough racer of this type of event that you're gonna
Right.
have to beat. Da-da-da. And like they had like some fan came up to do like a selfie with the guy, and it was just these two dead-eyed PlayStation 2 character models, just sort of like, it's jarring, especially because the rest of the game looks amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you actually get in the car, you're like, wow, this looks great.
Yeah.
And then
They've
you
modeled
see
the
these, like,
interiors
The car
of
models look
everything,
great.
and like
Yeah. That's the one thing that does
from,
stand out.
From GT San Andreas come out, and you're like, what? Put him in this game. This is so weird.
The car models look great, no doubt about it. That is certainly a highlight, but there's no damage. Vehicles get muddy, but they do not get
Yeah.
damaged.
There's some scratches here
And
and
that
there.
might be
but
some
there's
licensing
no,
stuff or
it's
whatever,
not like,
but I thought we were past that.
No, we are
we're
way
definitely
past
past
that.
that.
I mean,
You
every
can destroy the cars in
manufacturer at
Forza
this
Horizon.
point is totally
Yeah.
cool with their cars getting beat up in a video game. I mean, it's not a thing anymore.
But at the same time, I mean, you're basically. That's one of the weird things about constantly getting stuck on the geometry and hitting things you can't drive through. Is like this game feels so, like brainlessly arcadey in how it controls, and like it feels like you should just be pinballing off the walls as you need to, and it's not there. It's like
Sometimes the walls aren't there.
yeah,
and then
sometimes
you go,
just straight through
you go
it.
spiraling into like an alleyway, and you like can't turn around, and you watch the amount of
Yeah.
time that you are behind the leader just crawl up, and you're like, I can't restart the race. I have to just finish it. It's like
Yeah, there's
There's
nothing.
places
that
where you
live
get
through
trapped
it.
where you get stuck. In fact, coming up right here in like 10 seconds, I jump up out of this ditch and end up in a place I can't get out of. There's
You
no
can't
way
restart.
to exit. This right here,
Oh,
I'm stuck in this
you're
place.
stuck.
There's no way to get out.
awesome.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good video game.
Not a good first impression. for
And,
sure.
and a lot of times we pull our punches a little bit when we talk on GameFace if we're playing betas, because usually the beta comes out like a month and a half, 2 months before the game.
at least a couple months.
No. This comes out in like 6 or
week.
7 days. Yeah.
No, I straight up like I was kind of looking forward to this game, like to kind of at least to fill the time, but before Forza Horizon, and like I thought the first game was okay. I was hoping they'd improve a bunch of stuff on this, but playing this beta, like I'm not buying this game anymore.
And you can see what we're
Not
talking
for
about
full
here
price.
with the waypoints for the boat racing. So you can see like there's the waypoint, but you can't see where the next one is until you get to that one. But see, already the AI knows.
Yeah, the AI knows where they're going.
The AI is
yeah.
already banking their turns to get ready for the next checkpoint. You are at a complete disadvantage.
Yeah, if you happen to be in first, then it's like, well, I hope I figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah, look at that checkpoint popped up while you're in the air.
Yeah. Gave me plenty of time to prepare for where I needed to go next. Meanwhile, they know already. They're already curving
already-
to like
they're
go to
already
the
through.
next checkpoint. It's bad. Bad.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, there you go. It comes out next week. I don't think anybody sitting here right now would recommend that you plunk down $60 for the Crew 2.
Download
it could
the beta.
Get better.
Download the beta and play it.
Yeah, play it for yourself. Tell us we're crazy.
Go for it.
I don't know, man. I feel like one of us would find.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, I don't like this, and I'm gonna, Brent and Shane are gonna get here, and they're gonna be like, oh, you just like Forza too much, and it's like, you're a Forza fanboy. You can't let it go. It's like, no, and everyone's like, oh, that game sucks.
Well, I was playing it yesterday, and one of the sifters messaged me on Xbox Live and was like, hey, what do you think? And I just wrote back, eh.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I came here fully hating the game, and I didn't know. I didn't know if Matt was going to like it or not.
Because I didn't play it till this morning.
And we both had that moment where like, oh yeah, you hate it too. All right, I'm not crazy. This game is not good.
And then Brent
showed up for like the triple decker, and it's like, none of us liked it. So it could get to a good place. Because one thing I will say is the first Crew, what it was when it launched and what it ultimately became were literally like two different games.
They definitely improved it
Ubisoft is not going to give up on it. It will work on it and get it to a better place. Okay, fine, we'll talk to you then, and then we'll tell our users to buy it for $40 instead of $60. But yeah, it is not looking good for the Crew 2, unfortunately.
Especially when Forza Horizon was so good.
Yeah.
And
it's still good. Forza Horizon 3 is still amazing.
Ostensibly, it's the same setup where, you're trying to get followers, but at that one, you're running this festival and
expanding
Australian
the festival
lady's like, hey, you run this festival and do cool shit to get more followers and money. Cool, see ya, go do it. And then they kick you out the door and you go do fun stuff. It's just the bare minimum to have some reason to do this stuff. And in here, they just... God, these cutscenes go on
and you're constantly stuck with this kind of hello fellow kids sort of thing.
Yeah, they hit you pretty hard with it.
So there you go. There's our impressions of the Crew 2.
Also, it's still a dumb name.
Yeah.
The Crew.
Well, there is that whole Crew mechanic in there where but I haven't been able to do any of that stuff
yet. That wasn't there in the first one. They still called it the Crew.
No, you're right.
It's just
you're right.
It doesn't. I hear the Crew and it doesn't say open world racing game to me. It says annoying Payday 2 ripoff.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like either that or
it's like a heist game.
I think I'd rather
heist
play
game.
that.
Yeah, like a heist game, or I also confuse it sometimes with the Club.
Yeah.
Which was that.
I forgot about that.
Isn't that also a racing game?
No, that's
third-person
Drive
shooter?
Club.
Okay.
The Club was a 360 era. It was like a shooter, but it was like a third-person shooter, but it was all target shooting. It was like range stuff, and you weren't really shooting. It looked like the advertising looked like it was going to be like a bunch of guys out of a Rage game reject shooting each other, but in reality it was like a skill test of target shooting. It was like in any other shooter it would have been a mini game. But
you were describing the worst game I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
So yeah,
a lot like the Crew 2.
No. So play it for yourself and decide, because racing is a very personal choice. But 3 very different people just all said the same thing. So
take it for what it's worth. All right, let's move on. We're going to interrogate Brent in this next section.
Let's do it.
So, Fortnite's taken over the world.
Where were you?
Nobody can deny Fortnite's taken over the world. I have a lot of friends who played PUBG. I played PUBG at first. And then all of them have moved over, and now they've turned into Fortnite players. You, however, are the only person I know who is stuck with PUBG the entire time.
I mean, clearly there's more than me, but
it's still I just said people that I know.
Yeah.
And why? Why is it? And look, just like me and Matt, we know people who work on Fortnite, so you're kind of incentivized to like it, right?
I know, I guess 5 people that all work over there, and it's not like it's not like I didn't give it a chance.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed the Save the World, the PvE mode a lot until it got really repetitive the farther you got. But I was always a big fan of Orcs Must Die in those games, where it's kind of like a first-person tower defense thing. Yeah. And I kind of thought this was going to be that, but it's not really.
Well, the base game is.
Sort of.
But
not at
the Battle Royale stuff
isn't.
Levels. The stuff that's like PUBG is not.
Yeah, I'm getting there. But the point was I ran it all through its paces, and by far the Battle Royale was just, I didn't like it at all, man. You run through and then some dude builds a tower in 5 seconds and then shoots you from above. And I was like, that was just silly.
But you're supposed to build something to protect yourself from it.
I guess. I feel like the building tools are super clunky.
They are until you watch somebody who's really good at the game use them.
Well, sure, but that's not me.
Right. Well, the idea is that you keep playing until you get as good as them, and you can build stuff like while you're running.
I understand. The difference to me is that in PUBG, there was a much more linear progression of skill.
Okay.
You know, when you first start landing, at the beginning, you're like, you know what? I'm going to land next to no one else because I don't have any idea what I'm doing. So when you finally do meet people, you've got some weapons and stuff, and at least you played the game, you traversed. And then as you get better, you start to realize, like, no, I actually want to hit people pretty early.
Before they get loaded up
Before they get loaded up, and then I get their stuff, and that's how I gear up quickly. And there's all kinds of strategies and stuff, but there's this very nice progression of you never feel, you're always learning something, and there's always people that are worse than you, and there's always people that are better than you. And
at least you hope. There is 100 of them. You would hope there's somebody worse than you in that group.
Well, but like, you know, I've played, I checked before I left, I played 290 hours of PUBG.
Wow.
You know, I win sometimes, but it's
How many
certainly
have you
not
won?
every time.
Do you know?
I don't know, maybe 15.
That's pretty
16.
good.
I get not for 290 hours, it's not.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. Like, whenever I get killed, it's because I got outflanked, I got outplayed or something like that. And like,
You feel okay with it?
yeah, it was like, oh man, that was a nice play by that guy. Or like, oh, that was kind of a, you know, sometimes the circle will move in a way. It's like, I got to run across open ground, and he doesn't.
I have no choice.
And it's like, you know what, that happens because it has gone the other way in my favor before
Sure.
too. So
Yeah.
I don't really, it's not the game's fault, and it's not as buggy as the internet would have you believe anymore. The cheaters are not really
Unless
an
you're
issue
playing on
anymore.
Xbox.
Well, that's a little bit different. I wouldn't recommend that. But I just really like the groundedness in reality. And then you jump over to Fortnite, and it's like the uncanny valley of what I want it to be. Like,
What do you mean?
like I like the idea of having a more lighthearted player on Battlegrounds, but then you just throw the building stuff just kills me every time. It seems so silly. And like, clearly I'm in the minority because like, what is it? 130 million people play this game.
Yeah.
But man,
So
It's
you have
not
no
for me.
desire to learn how to use the building stuff to get better at the game.
I got decent at it. Like, I did it enough times that, you know, say 1 to 3 people have been outplayed by me using building techniques. But like, it just felt fiddly and weird. Like, it just didn't seem like the good way to do that.
It's awkward at first. I definitely agree with that. It took me a while to
See, like stuff like that where you set the traps and things like that. Like, that's when I had the most fun doing stuff. But then you just kind of end up just sitting alone in a room for most of the game.
Isn't that Battle Royale, though?
No, I mean,
I
not
sat
at higher
alone in a
levels.
room a lot of times playing PUBG.
I'm not saying you can't do that in PUBG, and I'm not saying that won't get you pretty high up in the list, but that's not how you're going to win a game.
Yeah. Oh, you can win that way.
Sure.
I played it early, and I got very close to winning multiple times just hiding at the beginning of the game.
Well-
and letting people clear each other out, and then I come out and emerge. Or I'll just scavenge inside while everyone else is killing each other, and that'll chop it down to like 40 or whatever, and then I'll finally emerge out and actually start like playing the game, so to speak.
Yeah, but then you just wasted 30 minutes.
I don't know. I guess it depends on whether you want to win or not.
Well, arguably you win just as often, but you have more fun if you actually engage people. Because if you're going to die, you're probably going to die early, and then you just start a new game.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of the Battle Royale, is that you
Yeah,
don't
is
have
that
to
when you
sit
die,
and
you
wait
just-
for the match to end
I'm
and
out,
watch
man.
the whole thing.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, they released all the new stuff this morning with the Battle Pass, which is a straight-up copy of Fortnite, but it's still fun.
Whatever, who cares?
And that has one of the objectives is to get to the top 3 without killing anyone.
So
And
it's basically
like,
sit
yeah,
and just hide for...
go hope you find a good place in the circle and hide in a bush.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the only way it's going to work.
I've tried it. I got in the top 10, but I had to kill one guy. And I was like, what?
So you've explained why you like PUBG more than Fortnite, but why do you think so many people have chosen Fortnite over PUBG?
Fortnite's free.
Yeah,
I
that's a
guess
big part of it.
that's a big part of it. Like, especially, I mean, I guess now it's $20, but PUBG was $30 for a really long time, and
Yeah.
there's zero buy-in to try Fortnite.
Yeah,
Also, the mobile version is the game.
it is.
I really like that. the outside of weird Sony shenanigans, the ability to play wherever you want to is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like for a while there, I was playing simultaneously on my PC, my PS4, and my phone. Like that's bananas.
How is that working though? Because isn't the account on your in the PS4 version not linking in with the other ones?
It worked fine on my phone version.
Okay.
The V-Bucks or whatever I bought on the PC don't transfer.
Okay.
But I still had the stuff I'd unlocked, so I don't know. It doesn't really matter for Battle Royale anyway, so I don't know. But it's funny, I'm much better
unless you care about cosmetics, which a lot of people that play these games care about that very, very much.
Well, sure. I mean, it's all there is to care about in the Battle Royale, outside of winning, I guess. But yeah, apparently I'm much better at phone aiming than I am on any other system.
Oh, really?
I got like third place in the Fortnite on the phone.
Wow.
It's funny. This is only semi-related, but the PUBG on the phone, I'd say like 90% of the other players are bots.
Oh, really?
And so, like, my first game, I won it. And I was like, man, am I, like, super good or what? And then, like, I went online. I went online, and everyone was like, man, I just won my first game. And I was like, why is everyone winning their first game? And I was like, because no one else is actually playing? It was bananas. Because I was like, man, that second guy was really dumb. Why did he think I was over there?
Were you playing the game on cellular or on wireless?
Wireless.
Can you play it with your cellular connection?
I don't know. I never tried. I mean, I work from home, so
I'm guessing that's why no one's playing the mobile version, because you probably can't play it while you're out mobile.
I mean, I think people are playing the mobile version.
Oh, really?
I think it's doing really well.
Millions of people
on their cellular connection, though.
I don't know about
cellular.
cellular.
I don't know about cellular connection.
Most people don't.
Why were you playing so many games with bots then?
Oh, I think that was so we would do better.
No, you were saying earlier you're playing games and everyone was a bot and you were winning.
In PUBG, I think that was designed.
Oh.
So that you would fight people that were terrible, and I think once you get out of the like you rank up, it's like a completely different game.
Yeah, you have a whole separate account, right?
And so and so once you hit rank 1 or 2 or something, I think you start playing real people. But I think at 0, you're playing the dumbest of the dumb bots.
Got it. Okay. You still haven't said though why people have chosen Fortnite other than the fact that it's free.
Other than the fact that it's free, I mean, I don't know.
Do you really think that's all it is? Is just
no?
That's a big deal, obviously.
And I don't want to diminish like I am comparing the two because I definitely have a favorite, but like Fortnite's still a great game. Like there's still a lot to like about it. I think the community around it is really positive, and like it's a very lighthearted game. Epic has done a great job supporting
That's why
it.
I personally like Fortnite more than PUBG. I just like the tone of the game better.
Yeah.
Like to me, PUBG is so dreary. Like I always feel like I'm in like the Eastern Bloc when I'm playing that game. There's no colors.
Well, you kind of are.
I guess, yeah. It's all grays and browns and like, yeah. To me, Fortnite is just a far more appealing aesthetic overall.
I'd agree to that.
Even like right down to the emotes. Even a lot of the emotes are dumb. Like it's just more fun. It just exudes fun more than PUBG.
And people do emotes. Like PUBG has emotes now, and like outside of the the minute leading up to the match, like I've never seen one in game.
Yeah.
Like if someone kills you, no one comes over and like dances on your body. Like they got shit to do. They're gonna pick up your stuff and run because someone's after them. You know, like no one's like having a good time is the wrong way to describe it, because I do have a good time playing it, but no one's like just chilling playing PUBG. It's all very serious.
The other thing I would say too is that I'm better at Fortnite than I am at PUBG.
I mean,
I don't know why, but I finish higher in Fortnite, and I'm not great at building either, but I generally finish higher out of the 100 than I do in PUBG. I don't know why that is.
I mean, and that definitely has an effect on me because I'm definitely better at PUBG than I am Fortnite. Just 'cause.
I think that's fair for everybody, though. I think you're just naturally going to be drawn to something you're a little more successful at. I think that's just human nature. So I think that's
also
part
of the success of Fortnite that it's actually on PS4.
Yeah,
I mean
that helps.
Being
Absolutely.
stuck on if you're on PS4, and let's face it, most people are. If you're talking about the console owners, like your only option is Fortnite.
No, you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I finally bought PUBG. It was on discount.
For your Xbox
It's on
One
sale
S.
this week, yeah.
On PC. It was on discount, and then I was able to stack some like coupon vouchers on Green Man Game, and I got it for $10.
Nice.
And I was like, that's good. I still haven't installed it, but I have it if I ever decide to play it. I've never played PUBG ever.
Oh, really?
I've only played Fortnite.
Wow. Is there anything that Fortnite could do that would get you to move over and make that your primary battle royale game?
Have a no building mode?
Yeah. If they just took out the building, you would.
They
probably,
are supposedly going to, like, a future update is going to lessen the importance of the building somehow. I don't know what but they said the building is not going to be the silver bullet anymore.
It will take the brilliance out of it, though. Taking the building out.
I mean,
as far as just watching someone else play who's really good, I'm sure you've watched Ninja play. Like, the stuff he does is kind of mind blowing. Like, really, if you've tried it and tried to do what he does at all, let alone in a full sprint and then sighting somebody up at the same time, it is pretty amazing what he does in that game.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going to compare. Like, if you watch super high level Fortnite players, they're playing a different game. Like, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Whereas when I watch high level PUBG players, they're playing the same game I am. They're just really good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, they still die all the time. Like, it's an unforgiving game, and like that makes me feel better about like when I die. It's like, well, the best guy in the world also just died. I just saw it. Like, it's not that big a deal. Whereas in Fortnite, like, I see them do things. It's like I don't even think my keyboard is capable of moving that quick.
Right. Quick scoping and all that kind of stuff.
It seems like the skill ceiling is so much higher. Whereas sometimes I get a lot of flashbacks to Counter-Strike when I play PUBG. I was a huge Counter-Strike fan.
I totally get that. Yeah.
And like, you know, sometimes when I was like in the zone in Counter-Strike, like, you know, you have that unbeatable feeling. Like, you definitely get that in PUBG.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe people are getting that in Fortnite, but I certainly never did. It hadn't clicked with how I'm supposed to be playing.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with expectation, I guess, but
expectation's a big part of life.
Yeah, I want them to remove the building, but that's like half the game.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's
I
not
think
really
if they
fair
did
to
that,
them.
a lot of people that do enjoy it now would be pissed.
Yes, they should.
But, you know, they
It's
could
just a
make
different
separate
game.
servers for people who want to play that. I mean, it's big enough that those servers would still be populated.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't harbor any ill will towards Fortnite.
Yeah, of course.
Do you feel there's a difference in kind of the gunplay between the two? Do you feel like one or the other is more accurate, or you feel less like the games? So I felt like
fudging it.
I felt like Fortnite didn't feel particularly.
It's not very.
There's auto aim in it. Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, I guess the shotguns are like the number one weapon, but like
They always are.
If I have an assault rifle and I'm like within 20 feet of you and I can't hit you, like something's up, man. Like they just spray all over the place and it doesn't feel right. I mean, I don't know how accurate the portrayals of guns are in PUBG, but it feels like if I'm aiming at a dude and I pull the trigger, he's gonna die.
He dies, yeah.
Well, at the very least, he's gonna get hit.
Yeah.
And that's not really a foregone conclusion with Fortnite.
I think enemies are more spongy, more squishy in Fortnite than PUBG.
For sure.
But and I think that might have a little more appeal to the casual folks as well. Like, I can take more than 5 bullets before I die.
Well, and then and when you get in these close battles, everyone's like jumping around and like being weird, and like that really just took me out immediately. Whereas in PUBG, like if we're close to each other, like one of us is dying very quickly and horribly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I prefer that, especially when I win it.
Yep. All right, so there you go. I wanted to talk to you about that because, again, you're the one person in my circle of gaming friends who is stuck with PUBG and has resisted the Fortnite. So I just wanted to get your perspective on it and see exactly why that was. So.
Fortnite definitely throws a better party, though.
Yeah, definitely. They have one hell of an E3 party, that's for sure. So, all right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Mario Tennis Aces. This was a late addition to the show. And the reason it was a late addition is because I did not get the review code until this morning. So I assumed, okay, well, I'll get the code. I knew I was probably going to get it today. I'm like, we'll talk about it next week. And the reason I did that is because I've already kind of talked about what the multiplayer is like, the online multiplayer based upon the beta. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really what I need to play to be able to talk about the game intelligently and actually provide some insight is a single player. And there's like a campaign mode in it. And I just assumed, well, I'm going to need to play that for several days or, 5 days or whatever, and then I'll be ready for next week. I started playing it today, and in the span of about 3 hours, I was 3/5 of the way through the campaign. So I was like, well, shit, I'm going to talk about it today. And so here we are. We're going to talk about the campaign in Mario Tennis Aces. And at first, it puts on a really good show. There's like CG cutscenes that are very well animated. And it's kind of like an RPG. What was the Mario Tennis game for, was it 3DS? That was an RPG?
Yeah, it was kind of had an RPG thing to it.
Yeah. Well, this one does that a little bit. So there is leveling up, and you can level up your racket, like as far as like its power, how long it takes before it breaks, because breaking someone's racket in this game is a thing. And in fact, Ace Combat, the lower third for this, is because this game really kind of plays like a fighting game. Almost more than a tennis game, it's more like a fighting game. And the campaign in this, it is like a kind of RPG-ish. You do level up. Your racket levels up as you play, and your abilities level up too. So Mario's running speed or whatever will increase as you play. And the overworld is set up like a 2D Mario game, where you have like this small version of the world, and there are these paths that you can walk on, and then you get to a place and you fight it, and then it'll open up the next path or whatever. Mm-hmm. The problem is it feels like a glorified tutorial for playing online. Like the first like 5 or 6 quote unquote levels that you play literally are just teaching you the basics of playing the game. And then it gets to where you start playing matches, and they'll have special conditions. Like one match I played, there were mirrors that were at the net that would go side to side, and if your ball went into the mirror, it would spit back out the other mirror at you. And likewise, if the player you were playing against hit the ball in the mirror, it would come out the other mirror also at you. And so there's like little twists to it. Like the first one that you play, you're on a pirate ship, and there's a huge pole in the middle. And if the ball hits the pole, it'll ricochet off the pole and go off in some crazy direction. Yeah. So that's kind of what the campaign is. And then there are boss fights. Yeah, absolutely. And the boss fights, essentially, you let the boss, you just keep volleying until the boss's level goes down to a certain point, and then you use one of your power shots to actually attack the boss and like take their health down. And then like most of them have like 3 health bars you have to deplete before you get to the end. And then when you beat one of the bosses, there are 5 of them, you get a power stone. And you have to collect 5 power stones to finish the campaign. And I ended up getting 3 in about 3.5 hours of play today. And there is a story behind it. Waluigi and Wario. Waluigi's in this game. That's the best part about this game. Waluigi and Wario have basically taken this special tennis racket, and the tennis racket had been drained of its power like eons ago, and what will make it give its power back is these 5 power stones. And so it's a race between you and Waluigi and Wario to collect the 5 power stones to make sure that the racket doesn't fall into the wrong hands. So that's the plot behind this.
Or the world would be cast into ruin.
Into doom. I don't, eternal despair. I don't know. But that's the setup for it. And then it's just a matter of just playing match by match with those special conditions. You'll play like 3 or 4 of those, and then you'll fight the boss. Then you'll play 3 or 4 other matches with special conditions, and then you'll fight the boss. And again, in about 3.5 hours, I got 3 of the 5 power stones.
I don't want to totally derail you, but we've talked multiple times about the sifted review system, about how would you rather have a bad story or no story, and like the sifted review system rewards having a bad story more than having a no story, because you'd get a 0 if there wasn't a story.
Right.
You
the
like
story you just described to me is this kind of story where I would rather not have a story.
Yeah.
I don't understand what your comparison though to the review system. You're getting a lower score if you don't have a story.
That's what he means.
Right. I'm saying
so
this tennis game might be better if it didn't have a story.
He's saying like he'd prefer not to have a story at all than to have an incredibly Wimbledon story.
That's good.
So I'll have to remember that one for the thumbnail for the game eval, Wimbledon.
So sorry, you can continue, but this just struck me as like the worst story I've ever heard.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's bad. So here's the thing though, the core gameplay in this is really, really good. It's awesome.
Nice.
I don't know if I've ever played an arcade tennis game as deep as this one. And now that I've played it even more after playing the beta, I like it even more. I'm much better at it now. I kind of get the ebb and flow and the strategy of playing the game. The problem is that, 1, playing a campaign just isn't that great. But 2, when you go to play online, the options are so limited. So I thought when I played the beta that what I played there, it was like this tournament thing where you say, okay, I want to play online. They put you in this big bracket, and you get randomly matched up with people. I thought that they had just done that for the beta. That is how the game is. If you want to play online, you get tossed into this bracket with like 40 or 50 other players, and then you get whittled down until you finally play against the guy on the other side of the bracket that made it through everybody.
Right.
I still have not found a way to just match up with someone. Say you bought the game tonight or tomorrow, and you're like, hey, let's play online against each other.
There's no way to like put a friend code or something?
I've not found a way to use a friend code to match up with a specific person. The other thing I would say about there's only 2 modes online. There's a simple version that kind of takes away a lot of the peripheral stuff, and then there's like the rank mode, which has like all of the stuff, and then that's it. There's no customization. There's no choosing like, hey, what court do we want to play on? What rules do we want to play by? None of that. It is like the most bare bones on, and I mean, look, it is Nintendo and it is Switch. Maybe this shouldn't come as such a surprise, but the fact of the matter is, you're going to get through the single player of this in like 5 hours.
I mean, for a game where the
And then
single
you're left
player
with
sounds like
multiplayer.
it's just introducing you to the multiplayer, it's super weird not to
It
have
is very
like-
weird. Yeah, I was all over this game until I spent several hours with it this morning. I literally would have recommended that most people bought this game based upon what I played in the beta, and now that I got the final version today and I've spent several hours with it, I would not recommend that people...
Is it a $60 game?
It is $60, one, and Nintendo never drops the price of its games. So, I don't know...
If this was like what was it, the Treasure Trackers thing that was like little, I think that was like 30 or 40.
I think, yeah.
Like if this was 30, they'd be like,
Although that was more because it was a port of the Wii U version, I guess. That's a little cheaper.
They could fix this very easily, though. If they just give me the ability to match up with whoever I want to put in your friend code or Matt's friend code, and us be able to go and play head-to-head, that seems like something that would be pretty easily addressed in a patch, you would think.
I just found that like all the impressions I've seen of people who have it already, and all those, like the single player is basically non-existent. The drop shots have no risk; they work every time, which is very anathema to how tennis works.
Yeah.
Right.
And Boo and Bowser dominate multiplayer. Boo has some kind of crazy slice move that I guess people just can't keep up with. And like the more and more I watch it, like I was excited about this game because I like the Mario Tennis stuff, but the more and more I watch it, I feel like they've gotten so far away from what tennis actually is.
It's like I said, it's a fighting game.
Like,
it's more of a fighting game than a
but
tennis
like, even
game.
like in footage like this, like when like you hit like a really good, you set it up, you get that really good angle to the side, and you got him. But then because in this game you have the trick shot where you can kind of cartwheel over and still hit it.
Yep.
And I'm like, nah,
But you can
it's
also
not tennis.
You can also
I
squeeze
don't
the
dig
right
it.
trigger and slow down time to catch up the shots. But it's a wrist thing. So that meter on the top left controls
used up,
everything.
Yeah.
So if you use it to slow down time, you're not going to be able to use it for trick shots or what's essentially your ultimate shot. So there is kind of a risk and reward with, you can't just abuse it, I guess.
I'm no longer willing to take a $60 risk on this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm between this and the Crew 2, I'm horribly disappointed because I'm like, that's
Now what's
That
left?
was what I was going to play this summer. And like,
I know.
Crew 2 has ruined all video games.
I'm just sitting there waiting for Octopath Traveler to come out, I guess, because I really like that demo. But yeah, I'm shocked, and all the characters are already unlocked in the full version. Like
No, there's like 3 or 4 to
you basically have to
unlock.
wait for them to put new characters up as DLC, I guess.
Well,
So, like,
I think another thing too is if you play well in the ranked mode online, you will get those characters earlier. So but that's the only incentive. There's no other incentive to play this game. There's no unlocks. There's no cosmetics. So
that is weird.
Nothing. I mean, I got a costume for Mario because I had played the beta, but otherwise there's no unlocks in this game.
That's weird, especially after, the last Mario had so many costumes and stuff. It was single player. Like, you think in a multiplayer, like, at the very least, I should be able to dress up, my dinosaur
Or even like
crazy.
things to put on like the customized like the back court there where like it says your like your screen name and stuff. Like
It's like Nintendo doesn't want to make money. I mean, you can make so much money off a cosmetic DLC, and no one gets mad because it doesn't actually affect how
just
you
don't
play the
buy
game.
it.
The other problem I had playing the
Although
campaign...
people do get mad a lot.
Yeah, they do. The other problem I had playing the single-player campaign is the AI is moronic. Like, if you try to play the game the way they tell you to play the game, which is watching your meter and using power shots and using trick shots, the AI is brilliant. It's hard to beat them. If you just, like, hit it to the right side of the court and then hit it to the left side of the court, you can win every point. Every point. The only way the computer ever wins is when you get in the matches where they have the variables, where there's like there's like plants in the map that'll like eat
Right.
the ball and then shoot it back at them, or like the mirror stuff I talked about. That's the only chance the AI has, is when there's some other element involved in it. If you're just playing the computer head-to-head, and there's no difficulty setting, if you're just playing the computer head-to-head, they have no chance. They cannot anticipate, okay, this guy keeps hitting it over here and then hitting it over there. They lack the ability to learn and realize, hey, this guy is schooling me every time with the same thing. So ultimately, the single player, the campaign in this is just a wash. I didn't really have hardly any fun with it. Some of the boss fights are fun because they attack like a normal boss. So like one boss sends out these like tornadoes at you, like a series of tornadoes, and there's like one gap that you need to get in. Well, you can actually use your trick shot to like jump over the other tornadoes and land in that blank spot so that you don't take any damage. And there's another one where like, what are the piranha plants called? PDs or whatever? They'll throw a vine down. You need to use a trick shot to jump up over the vine. So the boss fights actually make great use of a lot of the control functionality that you have in the game. Unfortunately, there's 5 of them, and the rest of the campaign is all the other malarkey. So I cannot recommend this game for purchase. I mean, that's my nice way of saying bullshit.
Malarkey with all the shenanigans and goings on.
Exactly. So I do not recommend, and this game just came out today, I think. I think it's at stores now.
Yeah, today.
And I realize, Switch owners, you may be hurting at this point for a new game, but it's hard for me to recommend it right now.
Just play Golf Story again.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously though.
Yeah.
If they get the multiplayer to a good place, I absolutely would recommend it because the core gameplay in this is a lot of fun. It's very well balanced. If you're playing against somebody who knows how to utilize all the options,
It just doesn't sound like it should have been a full price game.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see why they set it at full price, because they're like, okay, well, we have online multiplayer, we have a campaign, which the last Mario Tennis, the single player, was basically just a Grand Prix tournament.
Right.
This also has that, by the way, where you can just play series of matches against the AI to win cups. But again, the computer AI is idiotic, and it just doesn't put up enough of a challenge to make that interesting. So if they eventually get the online multiplayer to a good place, I might get to a place where I could recommend purchasing this. But right now,
And it'll still be $60 then.
it will be, absolutely.
Yeah.
But right now, I absolutely cannot
Need a
recommend it.
Steam sale.
Yep. Well, that's obviously not going to happen either with the Nintendo game.
Every once in a while, digital. I mean, I remember I got a Wii U late, but I
Yeah.
got Super Mario 3D World on it for $15.
Did you?
On a sale, eShop sale. They never dropped the price of the actual physical copies, really. I don't know why that goes back to the N64 days,
Yeah.
but like. Every once in a while they do a really solid digital sale, and I've gotten a few older games off of that. But if you want to play them right now, of course you're screwed.
Yeah.
Also, 3D World doesn't have like online play like this one is going. You get like 3 months of playing for free here.
Yeah.
And then in September we're all gonna have to fork over $20.
That's the other thing too. Is right now it's
no one will
easy
be
to
playing
give.
it.
Yeah. Right now it's easy
Maybe
to
that's
give this
when
a
they'll
pass.
improve the multiplayer.
Because online multiplayer is free.
Yeah.
But look, when Nintendo starts charging for that, the expectations are going to step up. And you're not going to be able to release games like this anymore that play like this online. I'm going to be able to need to match up with people I want to play with.
I mean,
The other thing
do you
too.
think that's going to happen?
I don't know.
Because it definitely won't.
I don't know. A man can hope, right? I mean,
You
the other
can't.
thing I would say, and this wasn't in the
Setting
beta,
yourself up for
is
disappointment.
before you start a match with somebody, at least when you're first starting the tournament, you can see their connection rating, and you can back out. So if you see someone has a crappy connection rating, you can back out of that match. Once you've played that first match in the bracket, though, then it's just like whoever shows up. And lag is definitely a problem. I never saw anyone who had a better connection rating than 3 out of 5. 3 bars out of 5.
Crazy.
And there was one time I literally quit at least 10 games in a row trying to find somebody who had more than 3 bars for their connection rating, and nobody ever did. And I don't know if it's because a lot of people play their Switch on Wi-Fi and wireless.
That's probably why.
I always play hardwired, so maybe that's part of the problem, but there's lag problems. And one of the most important mechanics in this game is blocking. Because like I said, I haven't really explained why this is so much like a fighting game. And that's because literally, if somebody hits you with like one of those crazy over-the-top shots where you fly up into the air and then target them and hit them, you win. Literally, it will just like kill them, that one shot. Unless they get out of the way and just let you win the point, or they can block it. And blocking is basically just swinging the racket at the exact time the ball gets to you. Your window for that is so slim. And that is something that needs to be tweaked. They need to give at least another like 10 frames to that ability because it's almost impossible. And if you miss it, you lose.
Well, it looks like it's different per player, too, so you'd have to know the timings of every single character?
I don't think the block is different for each character.
No, but their shot towards you?
I think the speed of the shot is about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the speed from the end of the animation to when you'd have to press the button is probably the same for everybody.
Your window is just so small, and it's a big, big part of the game. And so hopefully that's something that they can tweak. Again, the game just came out today. Nintendo's going to get a ton of feedback, and it'll hopefully make some adjustments.
Maybe they have big improvements ready for September when you have to start paying for the online.
That's possible. That would be some dirty pull, though. So I know it may be tough to resist this game because if you only have a Switch, you've been sitting for a while idly.
I mean, you could say if you
game.
only have a Switch, then what else is that $60 doing?
Yeah, that's true. There's a whole lot of wishing and hoping going on there, though.
Yep.
You're hoping that the changes are made that can make it better. I think they're going to get a lot of negative feedback about the online options in this game, and I think Nintendo will at least budge there. I don't see Nintendo putting out like single-player DLC for this. So in the campaign, like I said,
What's going to happen next in the story, Shane?
No one's going to care.
What about the special racket?
No one's going to care. No one will care. I don't care, and I'm 3/5 of the way to finding out. So there you go. So there you go, Mario Tennis Aces for Switch. I do not recommend picking it up at full price. I recommend taking a wait-and-see approach, and hopefully you wait and we see Nintendo actually change it and make it better.
Something of a bland slam, then.
Yeah.
Man, this game is tennis puns are
very
so easy.
funny.
You gave me so much shit for the
Wimbledon.
for the poo too.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just been throwing puns.
His were better than yours.
Oh my gosh.
That Wimbledon is better than your pun.
Come
Come on.
That was better. This one, I don't know about that one.
I didn't laugh at the last one.
Just saying. It's a little
Tell us in
unfair
the
over
chat
here.
who has the best puns.
Ace Combat's pretty good.
I don't want to hear because I
Yeah,
have a feeling
that's
what
pretty
the
good,
answer
right?
is.
Ace Combat, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good descriptor.
Yeah.
Even though you're trying to say this because it's a fighting game, it's like, well, it's a jet game. So it's like a weird sort of like it's like 3 jokes in one.
Yeah.
It's like triple threat.
It is. That's how I roll.
I like it.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Jurassic World Evolution, probably the other biggest game that came out this past week. Matt has been playing it. I have not.
Yeah.
The reviews for this game have been all over the map.
Yeah.
Like IGN gave it like a 4,
4.8.
but its aggregate is at like almost like a 7?
Yeah, mid 70s.
Ish,
Yeah.
mid 7. Who's right? Who's wrong, Matt?
It's not a 4.8.
Okay.
I've played some bad games in my day, and this is not a 4.8. This is close in this IGN scale. I mean, obviously IGN scale is subjective because it's different people. It's not all the same one. It's not some reviewer like reviewing all the games, but it's probably in the 6 out of 10 maybe.
Okay.
Where for comparison, where would you put Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go?
Wait, are we talking about the
Why are
same?
you comparing Pokemon Go to
Are we not talking about the?
We're talking about
Jurassic-
park
Jurassic
building.
Oh,
World
I should have been
Evolution?
looking down there.
Yeah. Not the mobile game.
Please
This is-
continue. Wait, where would you put Pokemon Go? No.
for the record, I would probably put Pokemon Go also around a 6 out of 10.
I think that's about right, yeah.
The Jurassic Park version of Pokemon Go, I don't know, I haven't played it.
Okay.
Does that exist?
I thought that's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah, there is an AR, like a similar
Oh,
thing.
really? I
It
didn't
came out
know
like
that.
last week. That's why I thought. Okay.
Oh, wait, the other one came out
not-
last week, too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
I was not aware
Like,
of
there's
that.
2 different ones. So, but this is the
We're
the
talking
park.
about the console and PC game.
Yeah, this is the park building game from the people who made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did buy this.
It's all good.
So I did buy this because I like dinosaurs.
Who doesn't?
And
Have you
that's-
ever met somebody who doesn't like dinosaurs?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
They were creationists.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. If you don't believe dinosaurs existed, I can see why you'd be tired of hearing about
I
it. by
hate
now.
you.
It'd still be fun as fiction, I guess.
I mean, it's like you might as well get angry at a dragon.
How can you hate
know?
something that never existed, though?
How can you hate
if
something
you think
that's
they
that
didn't
awesome?
Exist, yeah.
These are
Anyway.
the same people that used to bring games back to my store I managed because they had wizards in them.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
What did you think was in Might and Magic?
In this case, it was
Certainly not a wizard that might cast.
In this case,
that
it was
magic.
Glover. The one that I always remember is this mother and her son. They picked out Glover, and they came back like an hour later. The kid was red-faced, upset, and she was like, "We don't like magic, and you play as a wizard's glove, so we can't have this game in the house." And
That kid hates his mom.
well, in the end, I sold them Ocarina of Time instead. Because apparently it's okay if there's magic as long as you're not the one casting the magic
Or as long as it comes from a flute.
Yeah, the ocarina doesn't count because you aren't casting a spell, and the potions don't count.
Music.
So look, you got a better game, kid. Just,
It worked out for him.
They
in the
never
end.
came back.
Yeah, I bet he didn't.
I'd say that's a pretty good trade up, man.
Yeah,
It actually worked out very well
he
for
made
him.
an
did a
extra
good job.
$15. He got a better game. It was all right. But I remember just like the absolute willpower to like look at this woman straight in the face and not just crack up laughing that she
like,
wanted
yeah.
to
It's
turn
a
again.
game about a glove, lady. It's a glove.
Did you think there was a scientific explanation for the anthropomorphic gloves running around? Is that what you were expecting?
There's a mouse in there.
It's all done with wires and strings. A bit of a tangent.
Very
there, but
advanced
anyway.
puppetry.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Life finds a way, even when it's a glove. And so I bought it because I like Jurassic Park and I like dinosaurs. And
Do you like Park Sims?
Not particularly. Which is
Sam does. Sam's the king of those games.
Sam is the Park Simiest guy I know.
He plays them on his phone.
But I
probably
played
even knew a
Roller
game
Coaster
we're talking
Tycoon
about.
back in the day. I played Operation Genesis, which is on the PS1, which is probably the closest analog to this, except with way better graphics. So the main criticism of this game that everybody has had is that it's for a park building game, for Park Sim, it's very shallow. And they are correct. There's not a lot happening here. Like the basic loop is you build the building, and you build a building. You have various buildings that are key to the thing. You have to, the thing that makes the dinosaurs, and they have to be in a cage. And you have the thing that goes out and sends out the expeditions, and you have the things that analyze the fossils when the expedition comes back. And that's your pay money to go get fossils, and then you pay money to analyze the fossils, and then you pay money to make the dinosaur. And then to offset all the costs of that, you build the park buildings with like the restaurants and the gift shops and the viewing bays on the sides of the pens, and that's kind of the basic thing. And so from my experience, I'm on the third island, and outside of one slight problem where in the second island, the dinosaurs you make all have various like requirements for being happy, for being comfortable. And one of the requirements is the balance of grassland versus forest territory in their pen. Mm-hmm. And turns out the carnivores are very specific about their landscaping choices. And my Ceratosaurus had like just a sliver too much grassland and not enough forest, and he got very angry and smashed his head against the gate until he broke out and started eating about 40 people. And
that's why I would play this game, though. To
and,
watch that
If they
stuff
don't,
happen.
if they don't break out, what's the point, man?
And that was a much more so earlier I had a breakout of two Dracorexes, which were plant eaters, but they got out because one of the other metrics is population. So there's like population and social. So social means other dinosaurs
Followers.
of the same species.
Okay.
So they interact with each other.
Another game.
How many Instagram followers your dinosaur has?
And then population is just how many dinosaurs are in the pen with them of any species. Preferably also herbivores because the carnivores will eat them. Also, there's a little thing you can build for the carnivores that raises a goat and like lets it loose in their pen so they can hunt it down. If you put that in a herbivore pen, it'll just release 10 goats over time, and you'll have goats running around with your dinosaurs. And I'm like, that's all. I'm going to put that in there because
why not?
That's the thing I would notice if I went to a real park like that. I'm like, look at the goats! Look at it's goats! Like, what? There's a triceratops. Yeah, but there's a goat with a triceratops. It's amazing.
Because you know the goats are going to get on top of them.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised PETA hasn't complained about this game yet.
They're getting
They're
to it.
sacrificing goats. Yeah, they haven't discovered it yet.
So, but and like as far as I've seen, the parks kind of run themselves, other than the breakout stuff. So when the breakout happens, you can send here you've got a helicopter, so you can send the helicopters, the jeeps to go tranquilize stuff, or you can control them yourself. And this is what you're seeing now is actually controlling You are usually going to be faster if you're controlling them, because until you upgrade them a bit, because The computer just sort of takes its time and flies over here and sits there. Whereas this is like the little bit of action you get shooting dinosaurs in the head with darts. But
like bullet drop, jeez.
Yeah, the bullet drop is crazy. On
You're
this
already
game.
shooting downwards. Good Lord.
It's.
You can tell this is the developers playing.
Yeah, they know.
Both those shots looked like they weren't going to land.
Those were some
and both
amazing
of them did.
shots.
So it's like little things like, okay, so you got to do that, and now you got to call in a helicopter. It'll airlift it to where you want it to be. I learned early on. You learned that the dinosaurs actually die of old age, which in like 20 minutes, like my Struthiomimus was like just fell over dead. And I'm like, what happened? And they go, it's died of old age. I'm like, it's like been like 3 days. Like what? We are screwing these dinosaurs' genetic code to hell and back. So then you have to have the same like cargo helicopter like airlift the corpse
bodies
up.
out. Oh my
and
God.
while this is happening, your revenue goes down because no one wants to see a dead dinosaur.
Can you have them then drop the dead dinosaur into the carnivore's cage?
No,
You can't.
No, you can't. Although they'll just take it off screen. Although if a carnivore kills an herbivore, it will eat the corpse eventually. Like you don't have to actually airlift that out every time.
It'll
because
eventually disappear?
they'll eat the whole thing. Yeah.
Does it show them eating it?
Yeah.
Is it a gory game?
There's blood.
Is
there's
there?
some blood. And you see like them swallow people and
Really?
I wouldn't say it's like an M rating kind of thing, but like it is. I mean, you see them tearing chunks out of the thing.
Have you gone full ham yet and just opened up all the cages and just let the dinosaurs just eat all the humans to see what would happen?
No, although
Because that's inevitably a big scene in every Jurassic Park movie where they all get out and all the humans run for cover.
It'll get there.
You'll get there.
The Ceratosaurus ran around and ate about 40 people, and my revenue dropped for like a week because everyone's afraid to go. And look,
As
personally,
they should be.
No, personally, if I was like, okay, you can go to this park and see real live dinosaurs, but there's like a 60% chance one of them will eat you, I'm still going. Like it's at least that's a unique
maybe
death.
if it was 50-50.
I might watch the press conference at home, kind of thing.
Kind of like E3.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't-
just watch the
I don't
stream.
need to see that one.
Well, the other flip side is like one of my big questions with Jurassic Park is like, why is it harder to keep dinosaurs in a cage than like a lion or a bear?
Yeah.
Like we keep the most powerful predators on the planet like in zoos, except for like sharks. Like
Why
all the
can't?
time.
I mean, to that.
Why is that
point,
so
though,
weird?
Why
Like,
can't we keep pandas in captivity?
we do?
I mean, we do, but it's very hard. Like
they get out and eat
generally die. Pandas in
eventually.
captivity.
Well, no, the problem with pandas is they don't reproduce enough.
Right.
And we should just let them. It's time to let the pandas die. I mean, if we're being honest.
I mean, we're putting a lot of effort towards them not dying out. Pretty much.
Just because they're really cute.
Yeah.
And there's animals that like no one's kept a great white shark alive for more than like a week.
Yeah, they're
or
not
something.
good at
Is the voice work by the actors?
Yeah.
I just saw Dr.
Jeff
Ian
Goldblum.
Malcolm.
Yeah,
He is?
It's really Jeff Goldblum. I think it's Bryce Dallas Howard as Claire. I don't think it's Chris Pratt though as Owen. What's his name?
He's too big time.
Yeah, he's too big now.
There was a time. I
Too
mean,
big for
he did
britches.
the actual voice for I think Star-Lord in like the Lego games, but he apparently is
He's
too
where he
busy.
drew the line.
Too busy now. But I mean, I think it's fun. I don't dislike it. I think it's real simple. It's kind of my first park building game in some ways, where like all the crises are like pretty easy to deal with.
Yeah.
I've only run out of money once because it was a new island, and the breakout with the Ceratosaurus happened really early, and I was like negative $300,000 or something. But I just sat there for like 10 minutes while I built the money back up, and now I'm fine. For some reason, you don't share money between parks. Like every time you jump for a new island, you have to start over, and it's like, hey, other park with $33 million in revenue, can you just like kick a couple million away so I can build a building with a helicopter so we don't all die? Can we do that? And there's like little, like one island has like massive storms you have to like lock everything down for. But the solution to that is like you build a shelter for the people, you build a couple of these storm tower things that magically protect all the buildings they're in, and then like the only challenge there is to make sure you have enough power generators to power everything.
Right.
So it's like really basic park building stuff, and if there's more complex systems under the hood as you progress, I haven't found them yet, and I'm like halfway through. So like what you see is really what you get if you're just even watching this footage. Like you can drive your Jeep around, you can drive your helicopter around, you can look at dinosaurs and see dinosaurs. You can like research stuff that like lets you change their I was gonna say coat patterns, but they don't
Can
have
you
coats.
create new dinosaurs? Can
No.
you like combine a T-Rex with like a Triceratops
No.
and like?
No, you can
raise their star level.
You can splice. Well, you can splice. Like, there's research you can do on all like other animal genes that then let you splice like shark genes into a dinosaur that makes them live longer, or like you can splice like bat genes in and it makes their stamina go up because
does it ever have?
They don't have bat wings or anything. It's not,
right, but does it ever have like unintended consequences?
The only consequence is the more you splice in, the less viable the embryo becomes. So there's a higher chance of it failing.
You're not gonna like accidentally make flying raptors.
No,
like, whoops.
no. You can make the
Which would be
Indominus.
awesome.
You can make the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor, which are the two kind of genetically created
super
things from the last one and the new one.
What's the one from the new one?
The Indoraptor, I think, is what it's called.
Okay.
And not the Indie Raptor. That's a very different act. But I haven't gotten to them yet. They're pretty late editions. I think the dinosaurs all look really nice. There's like little things you can do where like I was doing a thing where in the second island where they had like sick dinosaurs from somewhere. I don't know where the sick dinosaurs are coming from because I'd never made them and they're not in my other park. So who's making dinosaurs? But they're flying in all these sick dinosaurs and like. They dropped a Diplodocus down, and I cured it with a research thing, and you go in and cure it with a medical dart, and then now I got a Diplodocus. Well, cool, let's go. I didn't even have to pay for that. And then they bring another one in, and I'm like, okay, so, and it was like a Baronosuchus or something. I'd never heard of the name. I'm like, I wonder if that's a carnivore, and now you have to pick where they put it.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what that animal is, and it turned out it was a carnivore, and I dropped it in my herbivore pen and started eating all the frickin' gallimimuses, and I had to go out and tranquilize it and pick it up and put it in the carnivore pen, and that's how I found out that different species of carnivores do not like each other.
So they started fighting.
So my Ceratosaurus ate the diseased dinosaur I was supposed to cure, and I failed that mission. And the funny thing was, like the speech after I failed the mission was like, well, that was a good try, but next time we'll get the research done. And like, it had nothing to do with the research.
He was eaten.
He was eaten by the larger one. I just didn't know you had to put them in different pens.
Did they not tell you whether they're carnivorous or?
Well, they don't. When they just pop up you got a disease this coming in, and like if you don't know what that is, there's no way to know.
So actually, if you were well versed in dinosaurs,
Google
you have an advantage.
If I considered Googling it before I chose, I was like, maybe I should Google. I'm like, no, it sounds like a plant eater, kind of. My Latin roots, if they're right. No, it was a theropod carnivore, and it ate a bunch of my little plant eaters.
Is this a
I'm like, hey,
full-price
Triceratops, I didn't put you in there just to look around. You're supposed to be the security guard, man.
Yeah, at least they can defend themselves.
So,
is this full price, this game?
It is. Oh, it's very full price. It's even a little more for the deluxe version, which gives you like 5 extra dinosaurs. I guess they're dropping.
Did you buy that, the deluxe version?
Because I never heard of any of them.
Yeah.
And they're dropping free DLC, I think, next week, where they add like 8 more dinosaurs, including a couple big ones. I can't remember.
Does that
which
really
ones.
add to the longevity of playing the game, adding dinosaurs?
Well, it adds to the grind of looking for the fossils and getting a high level of the genome and then making them, and then like the better different dinosaurs have higher like appeal ratings, and like usually the ones that are A, bigger, or B, better known have higher rankings. So like, I mean, I was having trouble getting like my park up to a certain star rating, and then I made my first like Ceratosaurus, like the only carnivore head, and like all of a sudden it's like boom, you're 4 stars now because everybody loves a T-Rex looking thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I like to watch the dinosaurs run it, but like in terms of like, oh, and the other thing is you get these contracts. There's 3 divisions in the park, and there's science, entertainment, and security. And you have to do missions for each one, and as you get like their favorability with you rating up to a certain point, you'll unlock new research or new abilities or new building upgrades or whatever. Mm-hmm. The thing is, like every time you do a contract for one division, the other 2 like opinions of you drop. And like it's really arbitrary, and it's like, okay, so why is the science division getting angry at me that I put a new fence in for the security people? Like that doesn't.
You could have given that money to them, Matt.
It sounds like the
We have tons of money. Like it's like people. It's dinosaur park. People are throwing money at us to send their children here to get devoured. It's no problem.
It's like the SimCity traffic guy that always would yell at you, like no matter what.
Yeah. And it's just like you don't need. Oh, there's a goat. There's a goat running in front of Ceratosaurus. That's the other thing about, like, if you see his name like CRT-002, so that's the second Ceratosaurus you've ever made. You can rename all your dinosaurs however you want, but like then when they die of old age in 10 minutes, you're like, well, why do you let me get attached to this thing if it's just going to fall over later?
He also passed on the goat there.
They don't always. Well, at one point, the goat they let a goat loose in the thing, and there were 3 ceratosauruses in the pen, and they just wouldn't pay attention. And so the goat was just running around, like hanging out, and people were like looking at the goat. I was like, okay.
So how long have you played this? You said you're about halfway through.
I've probably played it for like 15-ish hours.
Oh, okay. So it's probably 30-hour experience?
I would actually, judging by how the distance has extended for each island, I'd say it's probably closer to 50. If you do everything. Because they get more complex. So the second island has storms, and the third island has like diseases spread faster. I think you have more diseases you have to deal with, and then like there's one. The fourth one I think is a really long, skinny one, which is hard to because you only have limited area to build in on each island. The long, skinny one makes you have to plan out more, and then the final island is the island from the second movie. And like that one's just totally crazy. Apparently, I haven't gotten to it, but it's just like this is the hardest challenge. And then like if you get 4 stars on the first island, it unlocks Isla Nublar, which is the one from the original movie. And that one is a pure sandbox. Like there's no money, there's no requirements, there's no contracts. You can just build and do whatever you want there. The kicker is you can only use the stuff you've unlocked playing the other islands. So it's not like once you unlock that, you can just do everything.
That's
You
still
still
cool,
have to play the legit game to do it, which is kind of annoying to some people I know. But like some people just want to build a bunch of T-Rexes. Yeah. But you're gonna have to earn your T-Rex.
T-Rex Park.
So would you recommend buying this? Let's take 2 angles there. The average player, and then the person who loves park sims.
Loves parks and dinosaurs.
Yeah, the average player, I think, if you're not ready for this, you're going to be bored.
Okay.
It's a park sim. You know, it's like you got to spend a lot of time deciding where to put power lines and fences. It's not
that I'm out.
You know, and
later.
And it's a little awkward with a controller. I've been playing on Xbox. It's probably works a little better with a mouse, even though it clearly is designed to be used to use a controller on it. For a park sim fan, like it depends. Like, do you want to play a park sim where you have dinosaurs that look really nice, or do you want to play a park sim that really challenges and keeps you interested?
That's kind of my question.
It ain't the latter.
Yeah. So if you do have that person, what should they be playing? What's the main comparison here? Sorry, I'm like not into park sims at all.
Like translation is what's a good park sim, right?
Yeah, what should they be playing?
Maybe we should ask Sam.
What's the Horizon 3?
Yeah, what's the Forza Horizon 3 of parks?
I don't know. In terms of dinosaur parks, I don't know if there is one.
No, just parks in general.
But like, I mean, well, what is it? Cities, skylines, I guess. I'm not a
I
park
guess that's
sim.
it. Yeah.
I'm not a park sim person either.
That's the latest
That's
hot
not really a
sim.
park, though, is it?
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like a sim.
Well, the
city
roller coaster
building
tycoon games have kind of gone away.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Planet Coaster is the new one by the roller coaster tycoon people. I think it's these guys.
I think it is.
I guess that's still good. I don't know. I liked watching what people made in roller coaster tycoon. I was never any good at actually doing it.
Yeah. There always gets too much work for me.
Yeah, because
I would get bored.
When you were here last week, like I gave a demo of Jurassic Park to Sam, and he didn't seem particularly impressed. He's hardcore, as we know. He's seen it all, but so I enjoy it in the sense that like I like the dinosaur thing and I like the Jurassic Park tie-in, but like 60.
I like the goat dispenser. That's pretty sweet.
That's straight out of the movie.
Yeah, you should just paint the floor with those.
That holds 10 goats, and then if it runs out of goats, you have to send a jeep to restock it with goats.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It costs like
that sounds wildly unsanitary.
It costs like
just
210
goats down there.
Yeah, it costs like $200,000 to restock the goat platform.
Sounds like you should.
Those are some expensive ass goats.
I should get
Sounds
into
like
goat
I should be
breeding.
raising goats for a living.
I know, right?
Hawaii, you gotta fly everything in. Everything's expensive in Hawaii.
Still breed goats.
Gallon of milk's over $10 in Hawaii.
You think
that's not even an exaggeration.
You think T-Rex just eats any goats?
Yeah.
You can't just like be breeding fake ass goats over here. They need the goats.
Organic artisanal
goats that give the spider silk milk. That's the only things they'll eat.
The only kind.
So it sounds like this is for a very limited audience.
It's for someone who doesn't mind spending a lot of money for a fairly simple game that lets you look at some very pretty dinosaurs.
Okay.
That's about as far as I'll go. And they don't even have feathers, so they're not even scientifically accurate.
Yeah, they're not even accurate.
I don't particularly regret buying it, but it was sort of like an impulse buy. I got back from E3 on like day 3, and I'm just like, I want to play dinosaurs, and like I
had a big presence at the show.
I became 5 years old and decided I wanted to make dinosaurs and put them in pens. And And that was sort of just what happened.
Do you think you'll finish it?
Yeah, I'm going to keep going, especially now that I'm not going to play the Crew 2 or Mario Tennis. What else am I doing? I've gone
Maybe
back
I should buy it.
I've gone back and been playing like old games through like sales. I've replayed most of Dying Light this week. I've been replaying Watch Dogs 2. I've been like going back to all these old open world games I never got all the way through.
I was thinking about going back to Watch Dogs 2. I don't think I gave it the shake it deserved.
It's not bad, but it feels weirdly disjointed from itself in a lot of ways, and like it keeps throwing those stupid like kind of procedurally generated purple missions at you, and like it constantly wants you to play co-op, and I'm like, I don't want to play co-op. I just want to drive around San Francisco and like steal people's phones and shit. And like after a while, I just sort of run out of things to do, and I sort of wander away from it. Dying Light, though, I still think is really damn good, and it's kind of I thought it was like an underplayed game, but it turns out 13 million people have played it. Like,
wow,
Techland hit quiet gold on that one, I guess.
And they're gonna keep milking it until people don't want to play it anymore.
So yeah, I mean, I certainly don't dislike Jurassic Park, but it's hard for me to say it's a $60 game for someone who's like really carefully considering.
And this is a game that will drop in price.
Definitely. I mean, I would think by
1 year from now that will be $4.
Oh sure, I think by this time at the end of the year you're gonna have half price at most.
Yeah, it'll probably be like $20 over Christmas or whatever.
Also, wouldn't shock me to like around the time like next year, maybe early. I wouldn't shock me to see it become like a game with gold or a PS Plus game at some point.
It also has a PC version, which means it could be tossed in with some Steam stuff here and there. So.
So yeah, only buy it now if you just are desperately craving Jurassic Park building action and you lost your copy of Operation Genesis.
Yeah.
Or your PS1 doesn't work anymore. And I mean, yeah, really the best part about it has been watching the dinosaurs and looking at them and
observation.
And like you can do that on YouTube.
Right.
Like that's the
you don't have to play the game.
Yeah, that's the dirty little secret here.
You just did that watching GameFace.
I could have just watched that B-roll for 5 minutes after I got home from E3 last week and been like, all right, I'm good. Yeah. But no, I bought it.
You took the plunge.
I mean, I had played it for like 15 hours. It's not like I'm disliking it, but it's just I feel like if you want more out of this than just like, oh, it's cool to watch the dinosaurs walk around and every once in a while I get to fly a helicopter over them. There's like if you're looking for a real park building like challenge and something that's going to absorb you and doing that, like I just don't feel it's here. And I'm not a huge park building game player, so it's not like I feel like I'm the expert on what makes a deep park sim, but like I just don't feel like it. If I think it's not particularly complex, I can't imagine how someone who can, run Sim City in their sleep would think like this must be like I need something to play while I play this. It's so easy. So because that's the thing is like it's not really a challenge. The challenge and the time spent for the later islands doesn't seem to be about how clever or how good can you be about manipulating this. It's more about like, do you have the patience to stick it out? And that's not really a very interesting gameplay practice.
No, it's not a really great selling point, unfortunately.
So I definitely do not.
Yep.
No. You dino do not.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. We're going to move to our last topic of today's show. I actually discussed this a little bit on a brand new show we launched this week called The Grind. I know a lot of you guys, some people only watch PAC and only watch GameFace. So a lot of times on some of the stuff we do on some of our other shows, I'll bring it on here to make sure everyone kind of figures out and hears what actually happened. So there was a huge kerfuffle this week with, I know I talked on GameFace last week about how we had the audio from the Cyberpunk 2077 demo that I had recorded while I was at the demo. And I kind of asked you guys what you wanted me to do with it. You guys all said, hey, just throw it underneath some B-roll and we'll listen to it. And so that's what I did. We spent a lot of time sweetening the audio because I had recorded it with my iPhone. And so we threw it into an editing program and re-equalized all the audio, laid it all out in a timeline, looped a bunch of trailers and screenshots over top of it, put a disclaimer in the front of it, and put it up. And within 30 minutes, it was zapped by CD Projekt Red. They filed a copyright claim for it. Not only did they file a claim, so there's different kinds of claims. There's the claim we get almost every episode of GameFace, which is just like, hey, we know you put our stuff in the show, so don't monetize it. And that's not a big deal. But we got like a strike from CD Projekt Red, which means if you get like 3 of those within a certain period of time, your YouTube channel is deleted forever. So these kinds of strikes are a really, really big deal. So PR reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to take that down. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. Before I even finished sending that email, the video had already been taken down by CD Projekt Red on YouTube. I'm not even going to get into the fact that legally they really did not have a right to do that. I mean, that that was recorded on public property. It was not an NDA signed, but ultimately it is their copyright and their IP. So I understood their position. It was technically copyrights for us and for CD Projekt Red. Essentially what it came down to is I did not want to ruin the relationship, one with CD Projekt Red, and two with the PR person that set me up with the demo, because I've literally known the guy for like 15 or 16 years. So it wasn't worth it to us to burn those bridges, to repost it on our servers. I couldn't repost it on YouTube because all they were going to do is just zap it again. So we really had no recourse whatsoever. And ultimately what ended up happening is someone downloaded the YouTube video and then ripped the audio out of it and then posted it on some corny like audios. I've never even seen that website before that they posted those files on. And then it was pointed to by some small website that was then pointed to by PC Gamer, and it became this thing that we never got credit for and ended up getting no benefit for whatsoever. In fact, it ended up all to our detriment, because now our relationship with CD Projekt Red and this PR guy, who I respect very much, is a little shaky, and we got absolutely nothing out of it. Most of you guys never got to listen to it because it was taken down within 30 minutes, and somebody else ended up uploading it, and the story ran all over the internet, and no one ever said, hey, this was Sifted that did this, or Shane Satterfield that did this. A lot of people called it a leak. It was not a leak. I realize using the word leak is a lot sexier for a headline on your website or for your message board post. It was not a leak. I didn't go in and hide a microphone underneath a chair or anything like that. I walked in and stood there and recorded it on my phone in front of everybody. There was nothing secret about it. There was nothing malicious about it. It's all been portrayed wrong, to be perfectly honest with you. Today, I saw on a podcast, somebody, I'm not going to say who, said whoever did that is an a-hole. And said, again, I'm not going to say who it was, but they called me an a-hole not knowing I was the one who did it. And I know this person, and this person knows me. And this person, by the way, makes their living off video game publishers and developers by hosting events from video game publishers and developers. So I can see where their perspective might be, that's an a-hole-ish thing to do. This person's not a journalist. And I think maybe what we're seeing here is a butting of the heads of someone who is a journalist. I mean, I don't want to call myself a journalist. That's for somebody else to say. But I've been trained to be a journalist, and I've been taught to handle things a certain way. And I've handled my business the last 20 years in this industry that way, the way I was taught and trained to do it. And the way I was taught and trained is you have to work to maximize the assets that you are afforded to create news or things that people care about and want to read or watch. And that's exactly what I did with this. I didn't break any rules. No one told me I wasn't allowed to record the audio. People saw me recording the audio. No one seemed to care. Also, for whatever reason, no one else seemed to have the foresight to do it except for me, because no other recordings have popped up. The recording that's making the rounds out there is 100% ours. You can hear our bumper at the beginning of it playing. I just did what I was trained to do. I was trained to take assets that I had and create something that people wanted to read or watch, and I did that. Unfortunately, the way this industry works anymore, people just aren't used to it. Like, it was very interesting to deal with CD Projekt Red, who, by the way, ended up being awesome. They ended up removing the strike on YouTube and emailed me and said, look, we know we screwed up here. This is at least partially our fault. So they were totally cool with it. They got it. They requested that I help them, like, kind of fish around and take down links, which I have done for like the last few days. But I think this has just been one of the most blatant cases to me of it's hard to be a journalist in this industry anymore. I feel like Kotaku does a good bit of it. Kotaku breaks legitimate stories where it's not just handed to them on a platter and they're told, hey, you run this on Friday at 9 a.m. But there's not much of it left.
Klepek does it still.
Patrick Klepek over at Waypoint does it sometimes. Jason Schreier does it at Kotaku. But otherwise, it's just like a barren wasteland. The marketing and PR machine, in conjunction with influencers, YouTubers, and streamers, have created this environment where people just expect that's the way it's supposed to be. It was interesting reading the comments on any website that pointed to the files that have been ripped from us, and it was one of two things. Either this is pathetic, they're screwing CD Projekt Red, or holy crap, I can't wait to listen to this. So it's this environment that's been created in our industry where if you actually try to be a real journalist, you're going to end up getting chided for it. Not only chided by people who aren't journalists, but also by people who claim that they are journalists. And I have news for you, you're not. If you're taking money from a video game publisher or a video game developer to host their shows, you're not a journalist. You're on the take, you're a shill. And you've made the decision to do that, that's fine, but accept it. Don't try to play, I'm journalist now, I'm gonna tell another journalist how they should do their business, or I'm gonna call that journalist a name. Just admit that, hey, I'm willing to make money being a host however I can, and I'm gonna let the other people do that stuff, and I'm not gonna criticize them for it. So I took umbrage with the person calling me an a-hole, even though they didn't know I was the one who did it, just off the cuff, when this person in particular is very well known in the industry for basically pay for play, payola. I'm gonna go host your thing, now you give me 10 G's or whatever. So I just wanted to clear the air on GameFace because this is the show that's more watched than Pactor by our patrons, and I wanted to set the record straight right here on GF so you guys know exactly what happened and why we had promotion up and we tried to send you guys to it. Maybe you got in a wild goose chase. You're like, what happened? That's what happened. I've had people ask me if I will email them the audio file or if I'll repost it. No and no. I'm not going to redistribute it. CD Projekt Red was great about this and very understanding about it, and it's just not worth it to me at this point to do it. So do I regret that I had a scoop and then we lost it? Absolutely. This could have been a game changer for Sifted, in all honesty. When I realized that I was the only one that had the audio, because it was like 4 days after the show had ended. And I knew other sites had more resources than we did, and it took me a while to get around to it. I knew if another site had it, they would put it up right away. So I knew by the time we went to publish ours, I knew no one else had it. And I knew it could have just been huge for us. It could have drawn so many eyeballs to the site, so many eyeballs to GameFace, to whatever. It could have been a total game changer for us. And it wasn't a malicious thing. It was, I had the foresight to do it. I had the idea of how to implement it, and no one else did. It was just one of those cases that could have been a magic bullet for us, and it all got screwed up, and it did nothing for us ultimately. So I don't regret how I handled anything. I think I handled the situation as best I could. I do regret that I had something that could have been a big difference maker for us, and it ultimately did nothing but made somebody call me an asshole. So that's the story. That's what happened with the audio for Cyberpunk 2077. To the people out there who did get to listen to it, I'm happy for you guys. You guys got to hear the voice acting for the game for the first time. You got to hear the weapon reports for the first time. You got to hear CD Projekt Red describe the demo and all the details about the demo for the very first time. You got to hear the music for the very first time. I saw some other journalists trying to mock it and saying, well, what value is there? There's no value in it. There was absolutely value in that.
Clearly
so,
there is.
Yes, clearly. So
I wouldn't try to take it down.
I feel like there's a lot of salty dogs out there right now who are like, why didn't I think of that? Well, you didn't. And so instead of lashing out at us, even though you may not even know it was us that did it, maybe you should start thinking critically about your coverage next time instead of saying, oh, they told me I could do this. They told me I could do that, and I could only post it at Thursday at 1 a.m. Think for yourself. Be a journalist. Think critically about your job. Think about your assets and what you have access to, and be creative with them instead of just falling in line like a lemming, which is really honestly what the majority of the press is at this point. The fact that I got any flack from anybody who calls himself a journalist over this is pathetic. So that's it. That's what happened. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So with that, it's time for our trailer of the week. And you guys are all going to hate it. I was completely selfish with the trailer of the week this week. It wasn't even that I was selfish, it's that there just were no good trailers this week. It was really dry. It's post E3. Everyone kind of gave it all they had.
Yeah, if they had something, they already posted it.
They put it up over E3. So the trailer for this week is the debut trailer for NHL 19. Get your questions in the chat right now.
For a lot of us, this is where it all began. Hockey was a way of life.
Welcome to my city, it's the only place I know. Gorillas rolling with me and we living by the code. Lord, hope you forgive me, I don't know what you was told. But we was on the corner flipping, struggling the coast. I put that city on the map, put that city on my back, till I'm up with a million on my lap. No time till I hate it to the lap. Stuck in the middle of nowhere, time to wish I could ditch and go there. Press the wish, I'm depending on what I'm chilling for. I won't hit it more, yeah. Honestly, I'm not just anybody. I know I go hard as anybody. Take my goodbyes and hellos, cause all the roads lead home. All roads lead home. Welcome to my city. All roads lead home. Welcome to my city. Welcome to my city.
So pond hockey, the big new addition for NHL 19, guys. Yeah. How excited are you about pond hockey coming to NHL 19?
You were right.
I'll be honest,
Everybody
I
hated
forgot
it.
the one.
We were talking about other stuff while the trailer was rolling. Let's see if we have any questions. As always,
Lower thirds is brutal.
Sorry, man. Sorry, man. You can just like finger write your
And
name
the
across the
guy.
screen if you want to there.
Oh
next
man,
time,
it's
next
like
time you need like a little sign for you to fold up.
I'll bring my own sign.
Before we get into the Q&A, it is getting near the end of the month, so if you have not subscribed to us via Twitch Prime, and you normally do, would really appreciate it if you could do that right now.
I did mine this morning.
Did you?
I had forgotten. Yeah.
Thank you, man. We'll start promoting that again here in the next couple days for people who are on the site, but I know a lot of you guys on the chat do it, and so if you could pop that up for us, we'd appreciate it a great deal. Johnny Hurricane, brother, I have texted you like 3 times. I've sent you 2 emails. You hate me or something? You trying to avoid me? Probably. Johnny Hurricane is the guy who went to PAX Party.
Oh, nice.
And I had a blast. Hanging out with him. Matt as well. I've been emailing you and
He got to
texting
see
you, man.
Shane
He just
real
didn't
drunk.
like you that way.
What'd you say?
He got to see Shane real drunk.
He got to see everybody real drunk. Yeah, we had a blast. Let's get to some questions. As always, go at Sifted Games, and we can pluck them out of the chat much easier. Let's see. Super Cordon Blue, have you considered a section on Sifted for original written articles or an opinion section? I love the curation, but just a thought. Well, there's this channel on Sifted that's called Opinion.
I think they mean yours specifically.
Yeah, like in-house written stuff.
I mean, the original content thing is sort of that. That's all technically opinion.
Yeah, I mean, everything we do pretty much is opinion. We have some features here and there, like we put up the interviews from E3, but almost everything that we do is classified as opinion. If you're asking me if I'm going to write editorials, I tend to write scripts for Geif and then create videos out of my written editorials. And look, I know some of you guys like the written word online or on your phone instead of having to watch a video because it'll suck up your plan. Yeah, a lot of people are like that. But I don't know. It's all about video, really. I mean, to be honest with you, I could publish the text version of Geif along with the video, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. It would be a lot easier to just write stuff, I'll say that
I
much.
think it would definitely lose something in the translation.
Yeah.
That je ne sais quoi of Geif.
Right, because I'm writing stuff. I'm writing it, obviously, but that's just the first step. Then I have to go and cut it all together into a video. It'd actually make my life a hell of a lot easier if I just put up the script after I got done writing it. But I want to go the extra mile, and I want to create video content. That's just kind of what I do. So probably not. If I do that, you know I'm getting lazy. I'll put it to you that way, which could happen.
If I had to think of one word to describe Shane, it was not lazy.
Yeah, we wouldn't be sitting here right now if I were lazy, let me tell you. Let's see, W. Matthew, I knew this question was going to come. What do you think of Nintendo and Microsoft promoting crossplay and rubbing it in Sony's face?
They kind of
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Well, it always makes me think of when Sony rubbed the weird game rental thing that Xbox did.
Yeah.
It always makes me think of that. And it's like,
Like,
yeah,
here's
it's
how
like
you share a game on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah, Sony's getting what it deserves right now. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not like Microsoft and Nintendo are doing something unwarranted. I mean, this is the result of Sony's decision making. So
I know, this is exactly what Matt said on the Best of E3 thing, but why choose this hill to die on? like the most popular game right now, and you're like, whoa, we're going to be a-holes to all of you. Like, no one who plays Fortnite doesn't know this happened. Even if you actually play on the PS4 and you don't have a Switch, you still know they were being meaners about it. Like, what are you doing?
Why are they doing it? Because they think they can. They think they can get away with it. And they probably can, to be honest with you.
For now.
For now, man. We'll see how PS5, Xbox 2, or whatever comes around, but...
A lot of people will forget this. We won't, but a lot of people will never even remember that.
But that's assuming this is a vacuum. If this is a representation of how they feel about how they can do it, this isn't the first or last time they're going to do something
No, you're right.
like this, especially if, the PS5 is the cell processor part 2 or whatever,
Well, it already happened with Rocket League. That was kind of the first case where Sony dug in his heels and was like, no, we're not playing with you guys.
To be fair, that wasn't... I don't know. It seems worse with Fortnite because I feel like there's a lot of benefit to playing on the different
Well, I think the
formats.
differentiator is the account system, right?
Yeah.
Like if you originally signed up on PS4, you're kind of screwed now if you go and try to play somewhere else.
If you've just used it on PS4, because it was just my
Yeah,
account.
you can't deassociate it.
Yeah, like my
It's
account is
done
linked.
forever.
My Epic account or whatever is linked on PC and PS4, which means if I ever wanted to play it on the Switch, I would have to create a new account.
Brand new account.
Oh, and note to you kids, if you unlink your Epic account from your PS4 account, not only will you lose all your PS4 stuff, but you still won't be able to play on Switch. So don't do that.
Really?
Yeah, don't do that.
It's a permanent
Don't do that.
flag for some
Oh,
reason.
jeez.
Like if you could just say, all right, erase all my PS4 stuff, I want to play on Switch, then like this would be much less of a big deal. That almost sounds like an Epic issue to me.
It does, yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably whatever the deal they have with Sony.
I think we all agree, though, that whatever amount of crap Microsoft and Nintendo give Sony, we're cool with it.
I kinda
Keep piling on. We're totally cool. Yeah. And also, if this ends up like uniting Nintendo and Microsoft and we get something like Banjo and Smash Brothers or something out of it, hey, fringe benefits. That's all I gotta say.
I think anything the various companies can do to basically keep each other honest is good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we've seen all three of them get out of control up in their own egos, and it never works out well for the people that end up spending money on their products.
It never ends up working out well for them either.
No.
I mean, we saw what happened with Sony with the PlayStation 3. You end up paying for it. So
Or with Microsoft
Sony
and the
needs
DRM
to wake
thing.
the F up and remember, 5 years ago?
Or
It
Nintendo-
wasn't that long ago.
Nintendo thinking the Wii people would follow them to a new system. Or
their
just
press
over and
conference
over again.
felt like that, where it was like just being
Yeah.
weird, and it was the cell processor of press conferences. It's like, it's not a terrible idea, but just why?
Well,
Why are you doing this?
You didn't sit through the press conference where the last 20 minutes, what was that? Was that 2004? I think where the last 20 minutes was a man who could barely speak English talking about Cyberworld.
Yeah.
And how the cell processor was going to let you jack into the Matrix. Like, he literally said
Can you
that.
imagine Sony doing that now? Having
And
a
I
press
re-
conference like that?
And I remember like I
Cyberworld.
ate some kind of baby burrito or something before, and I felt like nauseous or something. And at some point I remember looking over at you and Adam, and I'm just like, am I hallucinating
No,
this? Like,
it's really happening.
what the hell is going on? And like,
Cyberworld. Yeah.
and like, I remember you're just sitting there going like, oh my god, like what am I watching? Like,
It was insane.
Sony had a bunch of those in a row, basically, and I'm waiting for the next one. It was real close this year, when they took a 15-minute break for Sean Layden to sit there and talk about how you guys shouldn't expect too much here. I mean, everybody just calm down. You know, it's just like, what is happening?
Weird.
Then they had their own internal commentators. That was
bizarre.
Whatever. Continue.
All right, from the legacy, Matt, did you see the new Jurassic Park?
Not yet.
Is it out now?
Came out today. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Any initial reviews or anything?
Meh.
Meh.
Like, it's not burning up the charts. A couple of people I know and trust have seen it, and they said it was awful.
Oh, geez.
That's not necessarily going to deter me from seeing it eventually, because I mean, if I saw Jurassic Park 3 in the theater, I can see this thing in the theater.
The last one was rough.
I liked the last one.
I enjoyed it. I turned my brain off when I watched it.
Yeah, it's real dumb, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and everybody's just throwing the idiot ball back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, whenever.
But like, I enjoyed it.
It was
for what
mindless.
It was
Anytime someone wasn't speaking, it was fine.
Yes,
but
that's
the
a good one,
dialogue
yeah.
was just like, who wrote this?
Yeah.
Matt probably knows who wrote it.
I used to. I don't remember anymore. But it was. I just actually saw it on cable last night. It happened to be on. I watched the last half of it. It's probably the first time I've seen it since it was in theaters. And like, yeah, that final fight with the T-Rex and the Indominus Rex and the Raptor and the Moses, like that's still awesome. Like that's
nobody was talking.
That's just kid banging his toys together. That was a great fight. That was the best like Godzilla fight, not in a Godzilla movie I've ever seen.
Here's one from J Reed Vic 7. How long will it take for the core gaming audience to come to grips that proliferation and the internet killed E3 surprises probably permanently, and that'll ultimately be a different show from now on?
Well, I don't know that that's true. I mean,
He's
I guess it
kinda
depends.
right.
I guess it depends on how big the surprise is. It's not like we didn't learn new stuff, but
We didn't learn much new stuff besides what was leaked out beforehand.
I guess my point was there wasn't that much stuff even including the leaks.
Yeah.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. The internet's not at fault here. The lack of new stuff is at fault.
That's partly it. I mean, also, like, look, the biggest things to me were, like, seeing Ghost of Tsushima. Seeing, I mean, not knowing about things doesn't matter as much as experiencing them. And, like, it's the spoiler thing. It's like, oh, my God, I know a plot point. Everything's ruined. No, not if it's well told. Not, no one's going to see a Shakespeare movie in 400 years not knowing how it ends, or play, not knowing how it ends. It says in the title, if it says the tragedy of whatever, they all die at the end. That's it. That's how it works. But you go to see the journey. You go to see the artistry. You go to see the performance. You go to see, the interpretation of it. And like, you can tell me all you want about how awesome the Cyberpunk trailer was, or the Beyond Good and Evil 2 trailer was going to be, or the Ghost of Tsushima demo, but that doesn't have the impact on me that actually seeing it happen in front of me. So I don't care about the leaks. I think the leaks are just part of the show to some degree. And the real thing is when you actually get to see the thing played in front of you.
I think a lot of people look at E3 like Christmas. It's like, you're getting gifts, you just don't know what's inside them. And over the last couple years, it's like you're basically being told what's inside the box before you unwrap it.
I've always just enjoyed the actual thing in the box more than not knowing what's in the box.
Yeah, you're saying like...
Well, you're a good kid.
Right, but you're saying
with
like...
toys.
What was more important to me was actually playing with whatever the gift was. It wasn't the... But I think some other people are different. They get just as much enjoyment out of not knowing what the gift is and then discovering it as they do getting to play with them.
Somewhat, but
I mean, you can liken it to movie trailers or something.
Right.
Like, if I don't watch any trailers for a movie and then see it, I generally have a better experience than if
you're
I
right.
have watched the trailers.
I just don't have. I can know the whole plot of something and watch it, and it's completely still the same enjoyable. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's even look. Plots. A story is more than its plot. A movie is more than surprising you. That's not what I go to see stories or movies for. But it makes even less
zero value either.
It depends on the. I mean, if it's like the
whodunit,
whodunit mystery, sure. But like otherwise, like I don't care about spoilers at all ever. Tell me everything. I don't give a shit.
But at his point, he's asking about the people that do care.
Right, but it makes even less sense with E3. There's people there forums and people like, oh, no E3 spoilers. Nobody people are upset about leaks about being spoiled. It's news.
No, those people drive me crazy.
That's weird.
Those people literally drive me crazy. The people who are like, I can't know anything about anything. Everything's a freaking spoiler. It's like, go lock yourself in a closet or something, bro. Like, you're never gonna survive out here. Like,
so no, nothing. None of the leaks really, I think, impacted anything for me in terms of like, because it's like it's one thing if it's like I think Fallout 76, which is not a leak really, because they announced it themselves. But I thought that was kind of diminished that a little bit because they didn't do anything more in the presentation. They showed a little bit, they talked a little bit, but still very vague.
That wasn't their plan. The whole Walmart thing happened, and they were like, fine, we'll just...
Well, the Rage thing, but like the Fallout 76 didn't leak.
Oh, I thought that was Walmart.
No, Walmart was Rage 2.
Then never mind.
And Pete Hines was very angry on Twitter.
And how do you feel about Pokemon Go?
Well...
I like how you turned into the reporter there. Leaned in with your mic. Let's move on.
I feel like I enjoyed it more than I'm going to enjoy Let's Go.
Here's one from Potty F2. Shane, Sifta Games, what is it like being an a-hole? It's pretty damn good. I'm having a great Friday night as an a-hole.
It's freeing.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we'll answer a couple more. The Legacy, do you think if you had uploaded an audio transcript, the situation would have been better? That's a good question. That's what I asked the PR person. Mm-hmm. I said, so what's the difference between me posting the audio and just transcribing this word for word? And he didn't reply.
See, that's the interesting thing.
When they asked me to take it down at first, that's the first thing I asked them. I'm like, okay, well, what if I just transcribe this word for word?
Well, see, I thought I didn't say anything, but I figured like as soon as you put that up, it was gonna be gone. Like
Yeah.
they were gonna, because I know like it, you know, they're always very strict about recording it, and I knew that like, it was kind of a letter of the law, if not the spirit sort of thing. Because I figured like everyone probably thought you were recording it for your article later or whatever. You know, like
Right.
it was like, you know, like for personal use or you know, internal use only or whatever.
Right.
And then like this came up.
I think they underestimated the popularity of their own game. Like,
Maybe.
I think they did not anticipate that people would be so thirsty for information about that game, one, and that two, they would intentionally withhold that information from the public.
I didn't.
And that's the storm that created this situation, is there was a demand for the information, and they refused to provide the information to the general consumer.
You should have made it like sifted subscribers only at first and let it kind of spread a little bit, because they probably wouldn't have found it that fast.
I thought about it for a long time. I mean, that's one of the big reasons I kind of worked on other post E3 stuff before I put that up, because I wanted to think about it, make sure I approached it the right way. And I thought if I just put it on Sifted, it would get chopped before it ever even had a chance to spread. And so that's why I just did, which we hardly ever do, day and date, both for our patrons and for our YouTube channel. And
I admit I didn't think it would get nailed in 30 minutes. I
Yeah.
thought you'd have a day.
pretty
right.
quick.
I thought it would be at least long enough that we would get credit for it. That people would be like, hey, what's this Sifted site that posted this? Like, I mean, we didn't get that out of it.
It was just not long enough to have that happen.
It did, I'll say this much, though, in 30 minutes it did like 1,100 views. Like, we know
Nice.
nothing we put on YouTube does that many views in 30 minutes. Like,
Well, I'm still very curious about why they don't. I mean, we speculated before the show, like you know, to this day, there's still these stupid mods that go up on Nexus and stuff about like Witcher 3 E3 demo correct lighting mod kind of
Right.
thing. And it's just like, yeah, they changed how the lighting looked. It didn't downgrade it. They didn't do anything. They made an artistic choice, and you disagree with it, but they didn't lie to you. That's what I'm getting real. I'm real tired of the whole developers lie to you thing. Because
I mean,
it's
rage
not,
culture could have ultimately caused this, really.
Sure, and I can see why they would be like, okay, we're not going to share that because we don't want people 2 years from now when the game
be
comes
doing
out
comparison
comparing
videos.
individual building
Yeah.
neon signs to the demo and deciding whether they look worse now or
Right.
something. You know,
And that's
like,
funny because that was my original thought. Is the only behind-the-scenes demo I've ever been to was the first Assassin's Creed, and like, you know, no one really
You
knew what it
picked a
was.
good one.
And
Wow.
like, it was an amazing demo, and
Yeah.
like they were playing it. It's not like I played it, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like clearly they had these things they scripted and went through. And I remember coming out, I was like, that was awesome. Why is this not being shared publicly?
Yeah.
And-
CD Projekt Red is notorious for that.
yeah, stuff.
Yeah,
They keep
to be
stuff
fair.
because they don't need to. I mean,
Right.
even as a giant CD Projekt fan who loved all the Witcher games and is looking forward to Cyberpunk, I didn't think Cyberpunk was going to set the world on fire the way it did at this E3. Like, I figured it would be something that people liked and was like, oh, that was really cool. But the
I
fact
just didn't
that
think they'd play it for an hour.
yeah, well, I mean,
I thought best case scenario, we
that
got the
doesn't-
trailer that we got.
well, that doesn't shock me really at all. Like when I found out, like they're like, oh yeah, the demo's 50 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that's about how long the first big Witcher 3 demo was. They played through almost a huge chunk of the tutorial section of The Witcher 3. They did the full Griffin hunt and like a bunch of other wandering around stuff, a bunch of conversations. They redid something so you could see how something worked out differently if you said the other thing. Kind of what Cyberpunk was about.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're not afraid to show a full beginning of the game like that. But like I just don't understand why suddenly it's big and it's hyped and bigger than I think anything they've done so far has been. And part of that's riding on the back of the Witcher 3 success. But
Right.
like I didn't necessarily think that the Witcher 3 success was going to translate to Cyberpunk because they're such different properties.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of encouraging to me because I like it when the audience understands that the reason this game is so good and this other game might be so good is because the same people made it.
Yeah,
Like acknowledging that the developers or the talents behind it are why these games are
Yeah,
good.
it wasn't Geralt that made it good.
Right. It's like something. What was it? God, who was? I was like, oh, Yahtzee was talking about how he's not looking forward to the Spider-Man PS4 game because the last 4 Spider-Man games have been terrible. And I'm like, that has that's
dumb
Yeah, those are
logic.
completely unrelated.
That's Yahtzee for you, though.
So like it's that mentality being left behind. Leave the brand behind, leave the title behind, and look at who's making it. This feels like a really nice step in that direction because Cyberpunk. No one likes Cyberpunk shit. Like Cyberpunk
They're gonna like
struggles.
this.
Cyberpunk struggles as a genre to be a mainstream thing. Cyberpunk movies, other than The Matrix, do not succeed for the most part.
I just think it's pathetic that I am the weirdo for doing what every journalist in this industry should be doing.
Well, it's sort of an understood thing that, like, it's a behind closed doors thing. No one does that.
Yeah.
It's just sort of it's like an unwritten rule of E3. Like, if you get into that thing, you
better believe they're going to write it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if, like, moving forward, will other people try to do what you did, and
I'm sure they will,
become
yeah.
a thing.
Hey, if I started something,
Because
at least it was worth
there
something.
is sort of a thing of just like, well, it's like, why is anything behind? Unless it's like real early in your own, like I think Epic did that at like GDC and stuff with like really early Unreal 3 stuff.
Yeah.
Where like it was like, Gears of War didn't even exist, and yet
Missing textures. And
right,
stuff
but
like
if
that,
you were
yeah.
looking at like early models of Locust fig characters on the Gears armor, but like Gears wasn't even announced yet. It was they were like, and you'd ask us, "Is this a game?" It's like, oh, it might be a game. I don't know.
just models we
It's
made
just a
up,
thing we
yeah.
did. We just made a really super detailed monster guy because we were bored on Saturday.
Yeah.
But but that stuff I understand. But like if you're just playing the first part of the game and like it seems to be pretty much there and ready to go, like. Why not? Or
bet we
it
don't see
could
it
be
for a
like
while
you
still.
mentioned Assassin's Creed 1. People still complain that the crossbow from that first trailer is not in the game. He's got a crossbow on his back in that trailer where he runs up to the gallows and like kills the guy, and people still complain that he doesn't have a crossbow in the game. I'm like, I didn't even notice he had a crossbow on his back until you mentioned it. Like, that's so not important to me. Like that their gear matches the original announcement trailer. It's a different world out there.
All right, one last question, and we'll call it a night. How do you feel about State of Decay 2 topping the MPD for software?
It's slim pickings out there,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah,
Now that everyone's played Gears.
surprised. It seems like some people were surprised by that. I wasn't surprised at all. The first game did very well, and it was very similar. It was kind of a cool concept. It was rough around the edges, and people were like, I'm willing to deal with some of the rough stuff to be able to play a game like this because there aren't other games like it. So
The God of War rush is over, and
it's maybe a little surprising because the thing that was different this time is that you could have paid $10 for Xbox Game Pass and played it for a month for $10 instead of putting down the $60. But I think that bodes well for Microsoft's strategy with Game Pass. It is not necessarily going to really take sales away from brick and mortar or from retail. So I have no problem with it. I think it's great. You would like to see games that are a little more polished get rewarded, but
at least this indicates that they will continue to support it.
yeah,
The more successful it is,
Absolutely.
the more effort they'll put toward it.
yeah. So that's it, folks. That's GameFace episode 133. Brent, thanks, brother.
No problem.
Great show today, man. I had fun talking to both you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Like I said, it is near the end of the month, so if you're watching this on YouTube, which some of you will be, or if you're watching it on the site, we would really, really appreciate it if you go to twitch.tv/SiftedGames and subscribe to us and give us a free $2.50. It makes a big, big difference for us. So thank you very much. On behalf of Brent, on behalf of Matt, GameFace is up and out.